Perfect. Well, good morning, everybody. We will get started. We start off obviously with budget, but it's the Corporate Services Committee meeting. So looking for a motion to adopt the proposed agenda. Moved, seconded, thank you. All in favor? Great. Any opposed? That motion carries. So I'm going to turn it over to the CAO to start us off this morning.
Thank you, Chair. This is the second of possibly 3 budget workshops, and staff's here to present to the 2026-2030 Regional District Board. Wayne is here to continue with the presentation. I've asked Wayne to actually start off with the request from 100 plus homes, and that's why that's first, is because we do have Penticton staff here. Although they may be interested in all our asks, I don't think they have time. Wayne?
All right, thank you. I'll just get Adam to pull up my presentation here. So I sent one earlier to all the directors for the PowerPoint. We're going to start on slide 31. So this is just the agenda, of course, the continuation of day 1, which is the program change requests. And then there's 2 FTE requests that we are going to discuss after that. And then we'll get into the capital funding requests and we'll finish with the operational budget. Hopefully we can get through this quickly, but we'll take as much time as we need. So just an overview, this is the base budget, workshop budget percentage. Of course, anything that's approved, it will be added to this. And a recap of last or 2 weeks ago, regional grant needs that were accepted. Take a Hike Youth Mental Health Foundation was 4,000, Penticton and Area Access Society at 2,000, South Okanagan Women in Need Society at 5,450, and the Summerline Minor Baseball at 50,000. These are all preliminary approvals and can be changed anytime up to 3rd reading. Same with the full-time equivalency requests. Number 1, senior energy specialist, which was grant funded. Number 2 was cybersecurity network analyst for IT. Number 3 was a facilities attendant. Number 4 was an administrative assistant in finance. And number 5 was a scale attendant funded by user fees. These were all approved. Number 6, which was the cemetery clerk. And number 7, which was the electoral area coordinator, will be discussed after the program change requests. Program change requests that were accepted last meeting were 12, 13, and 14, which were various information services programs, which were discussed in the closed meeting. And now we will discuss the 100 more, or the board will discuss the 100 more homes initiative that was presented on the 20th. To recap that, it was brought forward by the City of Penticton. The program is run by the United Way, and the costs they're asking for are $80,000 per year. And the goal is to expand current goals in supporting the unhoused and underhoused. And this was the financial implications of the $80,000 if it's accepted for each area on the average house.
Okay. A direction or anything on this specific change request, the 100 more homes? Director Holmes.
Well, I think this is the most important issue facing society today. And for 18 cents a year for 3 years, I think this is our people would expect us to do this work. And it's as I said last time, it's not as if other groups are falling over themselves to coming to us with solutions. So I think, you know, we need to embrace this.
Okay. Someone prepared to make a recommendation, Director Bloomfield?
I'd like to move that it be included into the budget.
Okay, so that's the 80,000 for each year for the 3 years?
Correct.
Okay, mover, a seconder, it's on the floor. Any further discussion? Director Coyne.
It's not that I'm opposed to this, I just don't think this is the way to do it. I think we need to create a service and pay for it properly through a service, because right now we're going to take it out of general governance, which to me goes against everything what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to have a service for the things that we're paying for, and it's not there. So I can't support this for 3 years without it going through a proper process where we have a service that it's paid for out of, and because right now it's coming out of, I'm assuming again, out of protective services budget like we did last year. So are we just gonna increase that budget, or are we taking it from their operating budget as is?
Just go to staff to answer that.
Yes, this one's coming out of general government. The one you're speaking about is the temporary winter shelter, came out of the emergency services budget last year.
Okay, follow up, go ahead.
But again, we have no service to pay for this. So that's the problem, is we don't have a service to pay for this. Everything else we do, we're told we need a service, and here we are committing to a longer term thing without a service. So if we want to do a 1 year, then we can have a discussion about that, but I can't support a 3 year without a service on it.
Okay, I've got Director Coyne Senior and then the others.
Yeah, so Spencer kind of took what I wanted to say. I don't believe this is anywhere near transparent enough. Ever since I've been elected, it's been drilled into my head that transparency, transparency, transparency. And I don't believe that this is the way to do this. I think this has to have a little bit more, well, it has to have public consultation on it in one way or another. This is a huge issue throughout society, no doubt. But we're dealing with unhoused, underhoused, however you want to put it, people over in our area that really aren't going to see little to any benefit from this. I know it's only a few cents per household, but this is one that I really believe needs to be a heck of a lot more public information about it. The presentation last week left me with my head spinning. I don't really understand what the heck they're going to do with this money. And then it's $80,000, but then there's another $8,000 for the other winter shelter thing, which, so we're talking $88,000, not $80,000. And we're also, the city of Penticton, of course, pays 40% of that, and they're already committing to $120,000. So, there's another 35,000 that's going from the residents of Penticton towards this. So Penticton is definitely paying like the lion's share and then some of this project. Is that where the benefits are going to go? I don't know. I believe so, but this is I don't know. It's such a convoluted program that I really can't support this in this manner. If we do it maybe in a little different, open, more transparent manner, I would definitely back it, but not the way that it's being done here. I just can't. I won't support this. Thank you.
Okay, I've got Director Bloomfield and then Holmes.
Thank you. And yeah, and I hear the concerns of some of the
How the hell
directors,
did you get that hand to come down?
but I'd like to remind them of a presentation that was made by 100 More Homes last year on this very matter. And there was a tremendous feeling of support around this table for the programs that they were doing and the presentation that they made. And yes, of course, now it comes down to, do we want that service for, the whole of the region? And the whole of the region has a problem. It's a growing problem within the regional district. It's a growing problem within all the regional districts. We are seeing an overdose death rate in the rest of the region that is far worse per capita than the death rate in Penticton. The overdose death rate in Penticton has improved dramatically because of the programs that are being done in Penticton. And we feel that the rest of the region would benefit from having those same programs, but to bring the programs to the region, the provincial government and the federal government, but basically the provincial government, have to be made aware of the issues. And that is what this program has done. This is what 100 More Homes have done in the past couple of years in Penticton. And we've been tremendously satisfied with their work and the advocacy that they've done and the results that they have brought, to the extent that we are bringing this to the regional district and saying, look, you know, we are hearing from people around this table that there are issues around the regional district, and we know that, we hear it. And the communities within the regional district, you know, they tell us they've got a growing problem. Well, each community may have been trying to solve that problem on their own. And we tried to do that before as well, but now we have tried this program with 100 More Homes, this approach, and it has been very successful, to the point that we are willing to bring this to the regional district and pay 40% of it. Because it's going, if it's beneficial to the regional district, it's beneficial to Penticton, and vice versa. And so, you know, for the health of all of the communities in the region, you know, that's why we're bringing this and proposing this. And I would add that if this approach, you know, going in with this approach is of a concern, I'd be more than happy to see a recommendation that we create a service that replaces this model of paying for it. And if it, but this, to create a service, as the CEO told us at the last meeting, that's a year-long process, or more than a year. I don't think that the public out there want us to wait another year or more just to figure out how to pay for something that we desperately need. So let's do the program, and yes, let's create a service for this, you know, a service system of payment, that replaces the payment model that we are approving today.
Okay. All right, thank you, Director Holmes, and then Federico. And I've got a list going here, so.
Yeah, I just say, you know, let them start their work, and maybe out of that, it'll become obvious that we need to create a service, or maybe not. I don't know, but let them start their work, and then you can still create a service anytime. So, but yeah, let's get the work going.
Director Federico, then Roberts.
Yes, thank you to the chair. I'm struggling with this one. Last year, like if this had come to us as an FTE for a position internally, we would have turned it down, because we did that last year. And this problem didn't just start this year. This problem's been here for a little while. So when it comes to us in a different form, in a different presentation, we're all of a sudden on board with it. So I'm struggling with that. Two, I'm struggling, and I brought this up last meeting, is this hasn't gone out to an RFP. And so while I appreciate that this is the only group that's come forward, we haven't publicly put it out there to ask if anybody else is interested in it. So I don't know what process Penticton went through to get to that point, but we're a different local government on this side with the different rules and different things that we need to follow, going to Coyne Senior's point of transparency and working through this process. So I'm not comfortable that we haven't gone to that point either for our residents. Also looking up their financial implications, granted it's only 22 cents for electoral area E. In this year's budget, I put money in for social development specifically for area E that's paid for by my residents, and that's going to continue. So I have a localized approach, because at the board table, we didn't want to do that last year. So I put that in there. So it's not a lot there showing regionally, but I'm struggling with that. And I'm also struggling with that United Way's come forward And I didn't see a plan in there and what we're going to do. And I'm not in agreement right now that it's, here's some money, get started, and then come to us with what you're going to do. I think it should be the opposite. Here's a plan of what we want to do, and this is why we need the funding, and this is how we're going to support the electoral areas, because there wasn't anything in there like that. And I hugely appreciate that anyone in the electoral areas, when they do need assistance, they come to Penticton because that's where it is. And I'm not saying that Penticton doesn't need that extra support, because our residents are coming forward. But this conversation just isn't flowing in a way where we were included at the beginning to even get to this point. It's just a reaction where then you come to the RD and go, hey, we need 80,000 to give to this company that's going to do this work. So I'm struggling with all the pieces and how they've come together, not necessarily the work that's going to be done. The work needs to get done. I'm just struggling with who's going to do it and how we're getting there.
Okay, Director Roberts and then Coyne Jr.
Thank you, through the chair. I'd like to look at the compromise. I think what was brought up by Director Coyne about 1 year commitment to that, but then within that year, having a service bylaw drawn up. Because I see, for instance, the facility that we have in Area G, I'd like to be able to see something that can expand and contract as needs go by. And I think if we're just going for 3 years, like, again, as it's been stated, this is something that's not only ongoing, but it's an immediate crisis. So to be able to say, okay, let's get the ball rolling, but let's get the structure in place that we have the flexibility and strategies around, localized issues, but also in regards to resources. So for instance, if we have, and again, I have dreams of that facility being used more effectively. I don't see or know if that's a part of the discussion in the 80,000, but I figure if we have a service bylaw, we'll have a little bit more of an ability to direct some things in regards to the ebb and flow and the changes of that crisis in all of our communities. So I'd be interested in the doing the 80,000 for the first year with the intent to work on a bylaw that move us forward. Thank you.
Okay, before I go to Director Coyne, I'm going to go to the CAO.
Thank you. So the board can certainly establish a service establishment bylaw, but I'm considering this more of a grant application, which would then circumvent the purchasing policy, and it would, you can actually have it for 1 or 2 years. If the board's looking at 1 year, because of the time it takes for a service establishment bylaw, I would suspect 2 years might be more realistic.
Okay, Director Coyne Jr. and then Monteith.
I'm excited to hear all the support around the table now for the social development position and program, because like Director Federico said, it was turned down last time. And we said that this is what it should have done. We should have done the first time around, and then it was rejected. So, per capita, Princeton has the highest unhoused population in the region. So, I don't take this lightly. It's a massive problem in my community. It's a growing problem in my community. But right now, if we're going to consider this a grant instead of a program change request, then that's another story. But this is not a regional program. This is a City of Penticton initiative that the regional district's going to help fund. If we want a regional program where it helps all of our communities, then we need a regional program that helps all of our communities. And that's the crux of this, is we're saying this is a regional program, but it's not. It's not, there's no mechanism right now that I can see, other than good intentions, where it's going to flow out into Carameus or Princeton or Suias or Oliver or Summerland. It's Penticton's, it's a program in Penticton that we're going to help fund. And we keep bringing up in the Similkameen that we have a facility, we want to help, we want to do something, but nobody wants to fund us and nobody wants to help us. So I'm leaving this meeting in a little while to go to another meeting with Interior Health on our ongoing series of meetings about how are we going to help the homeless in Princeton when we have like 26 agencies involved. So it's not like we're not doing the work. It's just we can't get anywhere with the work. And it's frustrating as hell as we come back to this table and we talk about a regional approach, but we're not doing a regional approach. So if we want to do this as a grant, then I will support that as a grant, but I'm not going to support this as a program change request right now as it is, as a 3-year term, because we don't have anything to move forward after this. So I can't put another motion on the table, but if if they're willing, I'll do a 1-year on it, and then we get to work on something else. So it is a regional approach, and then maybe the city of Penticton can, if they don't want to manage it, then we turn it into a regional center over there and we do something different. But right now, as it stands, I cannot support it.
Okay, I've got Director Monteith, McCordoff, and then Bush and Gilbert.
Thank you. So I want to start off with saying that I really love what 100 More Homes have done. I've followed along with the City of Penticton board meetings. I've seen council go along with the project. I haven't seen the regional district do that as well. Like, it feels very City of Penticton. All the partners are City of Penticton. If we want to do this right, and I'm speaking for the outlying communities, we need to have it as a regional program. We can't have the City of Penticton Chamber representing Princeton, Oliver, Osoyoos. We all have our own nonprofits that would be a part of that. The governance structure is great, and I think replicating that in the rural communities makes sense, but getting on board with this, I can't get behind. The other part that's really sticky is my phone blew up after this last meeting, and the concern about unhoused in rural communities being very different than unhoused in Penticton. So in rural communities, our unhoused are in vehicles, they're in motorhomes, they're in the pullouts, they're in the people's backyards, they're all of those things. That's not being counted, and that's what we need in the rural communities. So there's a big miss, and I don't see how the results would implicate or support what we need in our areas. Apex, Twin Lakes, St. Andrews, Culloden, we all have something different than what Penticton is experiencing. So I think that really, truly, for us to address this issue that needs to be addressed, I think we need to have it from a regional district approach. I think we need to own it. I think we need to be a part of it. When I have a presentation for 100 More Homes from a regional district lens, super confused. I don't feel like we've been brought along. But when I watch the City of Penticton council meetings, I totally understand what they're doing. And working in a nonprofit space, I understand what they're doing. So I feel that there is a big disconnect, even though the program is really amazing. So I also can't support it for those reasons, that I don't feel that the rest of the region is being brought along fairly.
Okay, got Director McCordoff.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. I certainly understand why it's important to Penticton, and I appreciate the fact that over the last year, at least, they have been dealing with this and it's worked well. So, credit to that. I don't think I could support a 3-year project like this. I could certainly support a 1-year grant, if that's what it came to, for 1 year with the proviso that we do look at how we can make it work for the next couple. Because frankly, from Osoyoos, we don't have a lot of homeless down there, probably because we don't have the services or a hospital close by. But we definitely support doing things regionally. So I could certainly support it for 1 year, whichever way it goes.
Okay, thanks. I got Director Bush, Gilbert, and then Bloomfield.
Yeah, so I just have a couple questions, and I apologize for not making any of the meetings, but is this the same place where they talked about having a wet area or whatever, and the provincial government
No.
wasn't going to kick it? Okay, thank you.
Okay, different. Director Gilbert?
Yeah, thank you to the chair. I'd like to ask a question first, and I want to make some comments. And I'm guessing, I think I want to make sure there's clear. This 80,000 is for 100 More Homes to hire staff that would be specifically employed to work with nonprofits in the regional district area and not in Penticton, correct? Yeah, thank you through the chair. And I think that's the comment to this, is that, at the end of the day, you're not funding a Penticton program. We have funded $120,000 for the city of Penticton to continue our work with 100 More Homes to have our community groups work together. This $80,000 is meant to hire more staff within the 100 More Homes to work with the regional district nonprofits to help address homelessness. So I think that the disconnect here is saying that we're supporting Penticton. No, this is supporting the regional district. As in, what's come up here about, hiring an FTE for a social development coordinator. I prefer this model more because what you're doing is you're getting to the grassroots. You are getting an organization that is going to work with the nonprofits in the regional district to come up with the solutions from what they're seeing on the ground and not coming from the RDOS. So I think that needs to be very clear here that this is going towards, their capacity and resources to help out the regional district, not Penticton. Penticton is already committed to having 100 more homes in our city to do that. As for a service bylaw, 100% I am all for that. But also too, I think giving it, 2 or 3 years allows it to make it that customizable program that the directors have brought up for concerns. Let it run its course for 3 years to figure out where it's at and then bring it on as a service instead of doing it for 1 year, because how much are you going to know about that as they try to build relationships with all the people who are trying to take on this in the region. So I support it as a 3 year because I think that it is, I think it hopefully through those 3 years, they work out the kinks that when it comes to a service, bylaw, it's a benefit for the whole region.
Okay, thanks. Director Bloomfield.
Yeah, thanks. And I think Director Gilbert has said some of the things that I wanted to say, but I would reiterate that, yes, you may have 26 agencies working, in your municipality regarding homelessness and help and mental health and addictions, but and we were the same. We were the same in Penticton. And what 100 More Homes does is it comes in and it organizes those groups and those nonprofits. And 100 More Homes is not a private consulting agency that we're giving money to. It is a nonprofit organization. So I would say that, we sit around this table and we look at we talk about, having the provincial government coming in and taking care of our problems, which are really their problems of housing and mental health and addictions. But, it's about getting that organized. It's about getting that started. This is the first step to getting that lobbying, that advocacy work to the provincial government organized and started and putting it on their radar in a forceful way. And I can tell you that I was at a meeting this week, a conference in Penticton, where I was talking to a assistant deputy minister from the provincial government. And one of the first things she said was, yes, we're working closely with some members of United Way, some people from United Way, naming the people that are working on this program. And she was exuberant about the work that they are doing throughout the province because they have been requested to lend their expertise to other municipalities within the province. I think we should take advantage at the regional district level. Thank you.
Okay, I think Director Roberts, I'm going to call the question after that.
Through the chair, a couple of questions, and I was just trying to figure out, just use area G, this is 9 cents in regards to the amount, but I was just trying to figure out how is that, when we talk about average, like if I take just the number of households and divide, it's a lot different number. I wanted to know about that. And then secondly, how are we, if we're looking at this as a grant, how do we deal with our policy around not paying for salaries with grant funds? So anyways, those 2 questions. Thank you.
Okay. Go to staff.
I can answer the second one about the policy. This is outside the regional grant application. So this is why it's going through the PCR 19. And even if it went through the other one, you'd be restricted to $50,000. So there's 2 reasons why it wasn't in there. So this one here, what the money is set for. So this is where if you say yes, then it can be spent for wages also.
Okay.
Wayne, can you answer the second one?
So the average is by assessed value. So the average home price in the area G is set at a set assessed value. Ones that are over that assessed value pay more than 9 cents, but this is just your average assessed value home in area G.
Is that 9 cents per home or per $1,000 of value per home?
That's 9 cents per year.
Per year.
Yeah. It's $1,100 per year for all the homes in area G and the assessed value. So when you extrapolate that out, it's 9 cents a year per home. But again, if you add this to all the other asks, it all starts adding up.
It's 9 cents per $1,000 of value, because 9 cents, that'd mean they'd have 9 cents per home. You'd be looking at 10 to 20,000 homes, and there isn't that there.
Per
So,
average assessed value of the home. So
yes.
if the average assessed value in Caramias is $200,000, a $200,000 home would be paying 9 cents. A $2 million home would be paying a multiple of that.
90. Yeah, okay. Any other questions before I call the question? Seeing no hands, all those in favor? All right, and those opposed, if we can get them high enough so I can get a good count. Do we need to name them? Okay, I'm going to start on that side. Director Chahal, Director Coyne, Director Monteith, Fedrigo, Roberts, Director Johansson, McCordoff, and the other Director Coyne. I don't know where that leaves us. And is everybody here today? I think there is one missing. Two. We're just getting the final tally here. I believe it's going to carry, but
Mr. Chair, I have 17, I believe, on this meeting.
okay, so 8 opposed. That does carry at this stage. 9 for, 8 against. Close. It carries at this point. Director Coyne?
I'd like to make a proposal, because it's a committee, so I can't. It'd be a motion, I guess, to explore, have staff bring back a report on creating a service to pay for this down the road.
Okay. So unless there's someone totally opposed to that, we'll just give that as a direction to staff. It would be good to know anyway, I think. So.
We'll add that to the 2026 strategic priorities.
All right, go over to staff for the next item up. Wayne.
So we have one more item to cover. In last Thursday's meeting, Penticton brought this forward. This is an excerpt from the board report. It was regarding the winter shelter. They're looking for $4,400 for the 2025 budget, which will have to come at the December 18th meeting. We'll have to bring that to the board because it's a budget bylaw amendment. But what they're asking for is $8,800 from January to March, which we have in our planning budget already. It's whether the board wants to up that to the 13,000, up it an additional 4,400 to cover 2026's winter shelter. So right now we're funding January to March, but November, December would require another $4,400.
So that's for this year?
For 2026, we would add that.
Oh, okay.
So that it's on the first reading, if the board so desires. Right now, it's in the budget in 0410 at $8,800 a year for the next 5 years. But I was told this morning that it's only a 2-year program. So we'll remove from 27 to 30 for first reading. And then we're requesting if the board would like the $4,400 added to 2026.
Okay. Go ahead, Director Federico.
Thank you. Can we just get a clarification on temporary winter shelter and whether the language around that's changed to be a year-round shelter?
Can we have, oh, staff is coming up.
Through the chair, as it is still temporary and only funded till the end of March 2026, it's very much still considered a temporary winter shelter, and the branding for that hasn't changed yet.
So before you leave, if we were to approve this 4,400, would that change the brand?
This 4,400 through the chair would be to cover expenses up to March 2026.
Okay.
So the issue is we had $8,800 in our 410 budget that we've paid to the city of Penticton. 4,400 of that would have been for November, December of 2024. And the other 44 was from January to March 2025. They're asking for an additional 4,400 for November, December 2025. And then we have 8,800 in our budget for January to March 2026.
So this 4,400 is actually for 2025, not 2026.
So that's coming forward at the next budget meeting because it's a budget amendment, not to go into the 2026 budget.
Okay.
My understanding is this was a 2-year program, so they would need another 4,400 in 2026 to cover November and December 2026. So we're being proactive to put it in the budget rather than Penticton having to come back as another ask outside of the budget process.
Okay, Director Coyne?
And what budget is that coming out of?
That's out of 0410 emergency planning.
Okay. Direction from the board on this, Director Roberts?
Thank you, the chair. I'm willing to move it.
Okay, mover, seconder for that. It's on the floor. Any other discussion? Go ahead, Director Coyne.
So I guess my question is then, if you guys are going to rebrand this and try to keep it open long-term, are you going to come back to us with a different plan, budget, all that stuff? Because this seems like it's going to get lost in confusion somewhere along the line. If you're going to do this long-term, are you looking at options to buy? Are you looking at different funding formulas, models? Because again, I think we can't just keep taking it out of somebody else's budget, right?
Sure, through the chair, right now, the extension to March 2026 is funded through the provincial government, and council will be making a decision likely sometime in the winter around whether or not to extend the temporary use permit for the site because it expires on March 2026. And funding beyond March 2026 hasn't been yet extended through the province. So that's another additional layer that needs to be brought forward.
Okay, follow up, go ahead.
So if you guys are going to get that extension, I guess this goes to council and staff as well, can the regional district in some capacity be part of that conversation moving forward if we're going to be partners with it? So it's not something that's coming to our table after the fact, as we need you guys to pony up now.
I defer to one of our council members for that question.
I think we'd be happy to include the regional district in any discussions. But again, that's with the province as well. And but yeah, there's folks from the regional district in the shelter right now. So, and they have been all year. So, you know, I think it's only fair that the regional district should be included in the discussions, and it will help the regional district, I think, see how complex a situation this is.
Okay. Fair enough. Go ahead, Director Coyne.
I appreciate that, because as to Director Coyne Senior's point, transparency on this needs to be completely there. And
Okay. Okay, not seeing, oh, Director Taylor, hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm supportive of this expenditure, but I agree with Director Coyne that ultimately, particularly if this is going to go beyond even into 2026, we need to look at a separate service.
Okay. Director Federico, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. Not so much a question, but I think this warrants maybe a workshop where we sit down and actually communicate this, and that if it is truly becoming regional where all of the areas and the municipalities are struggling in it, at what point then do we look at it just becoming a regional district item and not managed either locally with extra funding coming from each of the municipalities? But if it's truly going to be regional, then does it move into a regional government that then focuses on it everywhere? So just a thought.
Okay. Director Bloomfield?
Yeah, I think that because the funding from the province for this, the operation of this shelter, we're covering the cost of the building. But if the funding model from the province runs out in March 2026, then yeah, then certainly happy to look at turning that into a regional center or a regional facility. You know, like, you know, more than happy to enter into those conversations. That's for sure.
I think that's a discussion for the future as to, depending on where things go. So I wouldn't want to give the province an idea at this stage that we're willing to do that. I seen another hand, Director Coyne Senior.
Why can't we do this one as a regional grant need? Just a question, because here again, it's the transparency thing that I like to.
Okay, I'll check with
stay
staff
with.
if there's an answer for that. CAO?
If the board wishes to go to regional grant and aid, yes, it's not going to change any of the distributions that you see because everyone's paying in both of the services.
Okay, so it could be in either. Director Coyne, go ahead.
Well, the difference, I think, is because we're running this through, I believe you said through emergency management. If it was a regional grant and aid, there wouldn't be the like service charge on that, as there would be running it through our our emergency management department. Is that not correct? We would just give the check to the city and they would do it as required.
I'll go to the CAO.
Sorry to say yes, yes, there's a service charge. It's charged exactly the same basis as any of the other services.
Okay, so it doesn't make a difference which one it comes out of in terms of a service charge. Okay, we do have a motion on the floor, and that's for the extra 4,400. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? It looks like it carries. And Director Taylor, just a note, your hand is still up. I'm not sure which way you were voting or if it was a leftover. So over to Wayne, and thank you for the clarification to Penticton staff there. Back to Wayne.
All right, so as I, just a recap from last week, there was the 3 types of program change requests. One was highlighting service increases above 4%, which are included in the budget and considered operationally required. There was ones where the expenses were removed from the budget, which are optional to the board. And then there was the changes in service, requests for funds, also optional to the board. Well, all of them are optional, but the operational required are a little bit.
39.
So this is a summary of all the requests. Again, policy 1 through 9 is regarding vehicle replacement, and that was based on the asset policy, the reserve management policy. We discussed this last week. And how the useful lives were comprised. So we'll start, and we went through 1 through 9 last week, but we'll just do it again really quickly here. So PCR 1 was the vehicle replacement reserve for emergency management, and this affects all areas. So through the chair, do we want to go each one?
If we've already done it, I think we're okay. Just a quick reminder of where this was coming from or going.
We didn't actually get to the approval process at the end of last meeting for these.
So individually then?
I would suggest that way directors can make decisions on the ones that affect just them.
So item or the first one?
So the first one is for the emergency management vehicle replacement reserve amount. Emergency management has 2 Tiger Dam trailers, a mobile command center, 2 duty pickups, 1 fire smart vehicle.
Okay, is anybody opposed to this one? And this is coming out of reserves? Is that not?
No,
correct?
this is
Or
a transfer to reserve, so
Okay.
it will be taxation for 410, which is emergency planning.
Okay. Not seeing any opposition to this at this point, so we'll say that's a go.
Okay. PCR 2 is Okanagan Falls Fire Department, and that would create an increase of $5.61 to the residents in that fire area.
Okay, Director Taylor, are you okay with that? Okay, moving on.
3 is for the Coalmont Tulameen area, and the approximate cost is $10.20 per year for the households in that fire district.
And I'm just checking with Director Coyne. Are you okay with that? He's given the thumbs up. Okay.
Number 4 is Willowbrook. Now the impact to Willowbrook is about $189 per year for the residents.
Thumbs up for the time being.
Number 5 is for Cleedon. The cost is about $70 a year per household in that fire area.
The
Number
PPR
5.
Yeah, I thought
Okay,
so
so
as
no,
well.
no to that
Okay.
one. Okay. Number 6 is for Narmada.
I'll have that one removed since last
Okay.
meeting I've chatted with the fire chief.
Number 8 or number 7
7.
is Anarchist
That's
Mountain.
okay for now.
Okay. Number 8 is for building inspection, and that involves areas A, C, D, E, F, H, and I.
And what specifically was that?
That's also for vehicle replacement reserve.
Okay.
That's for the building inspection department.
Unless someone's having an issue there. Go ahead, Director Monteith, question?
Thank you. With these increases to the reserve, is this going to come to the board every meeting, every year? Or is this like setting a new precedent moving forward?
Over to staff.
This would be setting a new precedent moving forward that there would be vehicle replacement reserve.
Okay. Not seeing any opposition to that one at the moment, so we'll move to the next.
PCR 9 is mosquito control, which is everybody except for PIB.
Okay. Fairly small amount, but I'm not seeing any
So I want to reiterate
alarms
too,
here.
these amounts were brought to the board for the sole purpose because this will increase those services above the 4% that was mandated
Yeah.
by the board.
Okay.
Okay, PCR 10 was added in here because again, it was above the 4%, but this was a contract with the city of Penticton for victim services, which increased $1,500, and that $1,500 made it above the 4%. PCR 11 is the fire protection for West Bench area. Again, it's through the city of Penticton, which increased $15,900. The 2 contracts actuals were outpacing the budgeted amounts, so a correction was made, and that's why we brought them forward to the board. These 2 are deemed operationally required, but it's up to the board to say yes or no.
Director Taylor?
I'm just wondering if on this and victim services, if we can get a report at some point, sort of call outs per area on a historical basis.
See the CAO taking notes on it, so he'll try to work that in. And unless anybody's opposed to this, I think we'll keep it in for now.
Okay, PCR 12 to 14 were the IT related requests that were covered last meeting. PCR 15 is electoral area administration. So the reserved fund increase was to smooth out the taxation curve for the electoral area residents due to elections. This can be removed if the board so desires, but every 4 years, it's $100,000. So $25,000 in reserve had been put in for the 3 years, so that at the 4th year, you're only taxing 25,000 instead of the full 100,000.
Okay. I think makes sense. I'm not seeing anybody too worried about that.
Okay, PCR 16 was removed by the CAO. PCR 17 is regarding Frank Venable's auditorium. They had a debt servicing, which the MFA had a rate reset this year, which is what pushed it over the 4%. But that rate reset is for the next 5 years. Again, the operation are required, but just highlighting to the board.
Okay. Looking at those two partners on that and not seeing anybody jumping out of their seats, so we'll not much choice, is there?
So PCR 18 was the Oliver and District Heritage Society. It's a third-party service. They brought forward the operational budget and submitted a 5% yearly increase. And then they also added a 1 year of $25,000 to finish an archival project. But that'll be up to the two directors.
I'll go first to Director Chahal.
Yeah, I'd like to get this removed.
I'm in agreement. Thank you.
Okay. Takes care of that one.
So this PCR 20 will be Mr. Mark Koch and Justin Shuttleworth will come up. This is an early approval request, and I'll let them explain what this is for.
Slide number 15 is what I've got it as.
Good morning. This one, as Wayne stated, for the Loose Bay or Seacrest campground operator. It's been a challenging site since we took it over suddenly one day in April of 2020, and continues to be too. One of the bigger challenges we have is securing a good operator, a secure operator. So what we're hoping to do is create a stipend program, bring it a little closer in-house. I think we kind of try and stick our hand in the sand a little bit with this and isolate ourselves through a contractor. This would essentially create a stipend employee type relationship where we would provide some greater support and oversight for health and safety and things like that. The idea or the financial consequences that we would create a stipend monthly for 12 months a year if they choose to stay there and caretake for the site. Just base level, I guess, wage for being on site and for the efforts they put in. We did put in for 12 months. That's the math that we used, but the hope would be we would recover through fees of the campground that stipend during the 6 months of operation. If there was an additional amount, that would just go to operational reserves.
Okay, so it's at the moment proposed for that amount. Area C.
Thank you through the chair. I'm in agreement with staff on this one. We've had major management issues up there. I believe if we start the stipend, we'll be able to get a proper manager that has a secure income, and then we can hopefully get things improved.
Okay. Oliver's okay with it as well, or?
Yeah, I think cautiously in favor of this. I keep wondering and thinking that we need to come up with a strategy for this this campground long term. Just was out for a ride along with our sergeant yesterday, and it seems like a lot of residents in Loose Bay have just moved down the hill into a farm not far from Seacrest. And I'm thinking, you know, maybe we run this all year round. People are staying without power and sewer anyway in different areas of the community, and maybe we look for a little more cost recovery on that. I don't know. I just think we need a long-term plan. This has gone from an agricultural supporting campground to basically a homeless camp for several months of the year with a small amount of agricultural support coming from those workers, from the people living there. So, you know, maybe it's an option to keep it open all year round for people that can maintain themselves there in the colder climate. They're doing that a little lower down in the valley anyway, and they're creating problems for our RCMP at this point too.
Okay, Director Taylor?
Yeah, I spoke about this in the last meeting. I think this is very typical of homeless problem in the rural areas. And, you know, there's a location not within the city of Penticton, but very close to the city of Penticton. There's, I don't know, somewhere between 25 and 50 similar units, RVs. People are spending the winter in them and they're paying rent, but it's a lot less than the market rent for a 1-bedroom. So I would fully support looking at something like that.
Okay, and then Director Federico?
Thank you to the chair. Do we have data on where the agricultural workers are working during the summer? Because I anticipate they're probably not isolated to just the Oliver and Area C area. So is this fair for those two areas to be shouldering this cost where these workers might be broadening where they're working?
I'll check with staff. I'm not sure if that data is available, but.
Through the chair, I wouldn't wade into whether that was fair for other areas to pay into that or not. But I can tell you it's a transient group. Quite often when they're at Seacrest Campground, they're between jobs and they're waiting for the next crop run as far away as Creston or up in Summerland and other locations. Some of them do a bit of a commute every year, and it's like fair to say that, you know, surrounding Area D, Area A, and even B and G, that those workers would commute daily from those areas.
Okay. All right, so it stays in, but Director Johansson.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting comment about this is a regional problem and we just contributed money toward a regional solution. I think we should all be looking at contributing to this campground or as well, and there's other campgrounds around the region as well. So, I mean, if it's going to be a regional problem, then we need to think regionally in terms of solutions and cost recovery and covering expenses. Thank you.
Okay. Go to Director Roberts.
And thank you to the chair. I'm in agreement as well because we've been wanting to set up a similar campsite in the Similkameen kind of, and it's been kind of something discussed back and forth. But if, you know, that Loose Bay is a bit of a model, so it's just kind of like how we can work on Loose Bay and then see how we can make stepping out into other areas. It would be good. I support it as regional.
Okay, just a quick question to the CAO. How would one go about making that regional? Would we need to do a service establishment bylaw?
It would have to be changed, and right now, it's been 2 years. We're just checking, but I'm pretty sure it's only electoral area C that's paying into this. Oliver was asked to put in something in there, and Wayne's just gonna check if the answer was yes or no for, it was 12. Director Knoll will try to get Oliver to pay.
So this is a bigger discussion at a later date, I think, as to whether and if we're gonna do some regional stuff. But I seen another hand, Director Coyne, and then over to this side.
I just want to say I love the direction this is going. You know, when you guys brought forward the idea of a economic development position, this is very much workforce retention and all that sort of thing, and that would fall into that idea of a economic development position. So again, I'm going to go back and say we need an actual plan on what economic development looks like if we want to do these type of things, because this fits right into retention and attraction and all that kind of stuff into workplace, because and it's going to get harder to attract farm workers with the limitations and the restrictions that are being put on by the federal government on temporary foreign workers. And we're going to see it harder and harder to get crops dealt with here. So I like where this is going.
Okay, Director Taylor?
I just see this needing to be addressed as a separate service, but also within the I would see this as something that's considered under the 80,000 regional homeless strategy that we're talking about. So.
Okay. Did you have something you wanted to add, Director Bloomfield?
I was just going to suggest that you could ask 100 More Homes to include it in the strategy planning, strategic planning for just this type of situation throughout the region.
It'd probably be a good discussion point. Director Monteith?
Thank you. That brings a really great point. Will the board and the directors all be a part of that strategic planning for the rural program? Because I think that we all have stuff we can point out in our areas that would be of asset and partners and all of those things. So cut through some of the legwork time and be able to jump in and start doing something good.
Okay. I think that can be noted and passed on. No problem. Next one up, Director or Mr. Making. I was going to call you Director. You're moving up.
All right, so I'm
or down, yeah.
So program change requests 21 to 28 are regarding reserves. So I just wanted to remind the board that the reserve for capital, the minimum of 3 years of budgeted projects to the maximum of 5-year budgeted projects. So the CS team will talk about the next ones.
Okay.
Thank you again. So this is just a quick review of most of our Parks and Rec service areas, including regional trails. With the exception of Area F, most of them we're projecting to start 2026 with a zero balance of reserves. We have lots of assets that are depreciating in those areas and project ambitions that we know are coming down the road. The numbers that were picked are not scientific. We're not quite as far along with our kind of life cycle asset management planning as I would hope we are now. But I did want to plant the seed that we are low in many of these service areas and wanted to start the request process of increasing those reserves.
Okay. Here's the impacts.
So here's the impact. The first one is Tulameen Recreation. The second one is Caledon Recreation. 23 is Narmada Recreation. And 24 is Rec Commission Area F West Bench.
Okay. Director Federico?
Thank you, through the chair. So it's listed as rec, but it's for parks? Yeah. Okay, because.
One service area. Oops, sorry.
Nope.
No problem.
Okay. I have further questions, but I will take that offline with you.
Okay. Director Monteith?
Thank you, through the chair. So this is nothing to do with the service that we get from Mr. Shuttleworth. Absolutely love what he does for Parks and Recreation. I went through a process a couple years ago of increasing my Park and Recreation budget. At that time, we had to go out and do the whole public assent and increase the level. I said at that time, I do not want to go through that again in this term. And it got set below what I thought it should have been. And we're here again. So I don't support increasing it. We just did it. So it's not fair to continually go back out and do the same thing over and over and over again. So either, yeah, I can't support this. It pushes us over the requisition limit again.
Okay. So do we need a yay or an A on each of these?
I'm going to assume it's yes unless a director points out a no. So in this case, the Caledon Recreation PCR 22 will be removed.
Okay. So 21, which was in Area H, are you okay with that, Director Coyne? He's given the thumbs up. And 23 was Area E. I'm going to ask Director Federico, is she okay or not?
I'm gonna leave it for now, but like I said, I'll take it offline and have a meeting.
And unfortunately, Director Gettens isn't here to deal with Area F, so we'll leave it for now. And she can change her mind when and if she needs to.
Okay, so I'll pull Area F's out. And then when I have my one-on-one with Director Gettens, I will run it by her there.
Sounds good. Next ones.
Next ones are number 25 is Community Parks Area B. And again, Director Bush, we are going for a bylaw amendment currently. So this could be involved with that.
Are you okay with keeping it in for now? Okay.
26 is Regional Trails.
Okay, and that's significant. And then to everybody.
That covers everybody.
And this is strictly for
transfers to
increasing
reserve.
The reserve, okay. So unless someone's opposed to that, let me know now, otherwise can stay in for the time being.
27 is, oh, sorry.
Director Federico had a question.
Thank you, through the chair. Sorry, regional trails. It's blank under Penticton Indian Band, so just wondering why they don't contribute to that one.
That's a question I'll throw to the CAO.
So we've got specific contracts for all 162 services. When we negotiated with the PIB, there's 5 that they pay for and only the 5, plus the IHA.
Okay. And 27 was
Area A parks, and you're in the same
and
scenarios.
I know we need to make some changes there, but I'll have to speak offline, but leave it in for now.
Okay. And number 28 is the Similkameen Pool, and this is for Carameus areas B and G.
E and G. Any issues with that for now? Okay. Director Roberts is looking. Okay. For now? Sounds good. Next one's 29.
So this one is, we took over the Skaha Estates water service, and along with that came a little piece of parkland, and I'll let Justin speak on it.
Yeah, so a new little park, beautiful space on Skaha Lake. We're able to take this on actually quite affordably. We look after the 2 public beach accesses on either end, the bookend this site already. Our staff are there regularly, so fairly easy for us to take on, knowing what we know about the site, which is limited. The idea here is that we would probably use some contract services to offset some of the other works we do to allow staff some free time at this park, as the amount wasn't enough to justify a position ask. It didn't make sense to do that.
Okay. So Area D's okay with this?
In for now.
In for now. Good.
PCR 30 is a clean sports courts rentals, and I'll leave that to Andy.
Andy's coming up to do a quick, and I'll get to you, Director Monteith.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, this request is due to the installation of a locking system within the updated sports courts in Pioneer Park. We are looking to be able to charge a fee for the usage of the courts, and the budget request here is the request for staff to run the locking system and the booking system. There's some Wi-Fi costs and a transfer to reserves. On top of that, any revenue will be put into a reserve fund for future court maintenance in the future.
Okay, Director Monteith.
Thank you, through the chair. So keep in mind the Parks and Recreation Commission are the ones driving this, not me. The ask is almost met in this here. The ask is to have all revenue generated from the rentals go directly into reserve. And no, the service is going to have to subsidize the cost of the operations of it, right? But the money that's collected for booking go directly into reserve. The users want to see the money that's paid for use go directly into reserve, knowing that in a very short time, we're going to be replacing it again. So not wanting it to cover operations, not wanting it to cover anything else other than a direct in reserve, that amount being the same amount.
Okay, CAO.
So I understand the concept of that, but however, there are some expenses. In every other service, it's the net surplus that goes into reserves, not total revenue.
Okay, Director Monteith?
There will never be a surplus. The costs of operating it are far more than whatever will be generated to put in reserve. So I guess maybe it's an operational thing, maybe it's a policy thing, but if it can't be done like this, like it just needs to, the users need to see the money that's being collected, go directly into reserve, and that's it.
Okay, CAO?
So it can be done, but what happens is that money that's transferred 100% from revenue to reserves is compensated by taxes. So if we put $10,000 into revenue, that 10,000 has to come from somewhere. So just as long as everyone's aware,
shaking her head, she's aware, so, okay,
then it's a go.
all systems go. Next one.
So these are Okanagan Falls asks, which I don't know if the CAO wants to talk on these. These are OK Falls asks. Are we including them in the budget with letters patent being? No.
So that's a good question, because in a very short, hopefully in a very short while, there's going to be a government controlling this. Does this board want to start making commitments for a local government that currently doesn't exist? I've asked staff to be very careful when they bring in something that affects the new regional district of Okanagan Falls. So
New district, yeah.
that's, I believe it. Well, anyway, that's something that I would defer this to the director.
Director Taylor?
Yeah, and I'd like to just deal with this with the manager and the budget officer, if I could, privately between now and like over the next 2 weeks. We've started that discussion already.
Okay, so tentatively at the moment, it's gonna just be dealt with later. Okay. Next ones.
So these next ones are for Smale Community Recreation, and we'll let Andy.
Okay, through the chair, thank you, Wayne. The first one is for, we executed a 2-month trial of prescribed recreation this summer in Similkameen Recreation Centre and Service. And we're looking to, we felt it was very successful. We've had pickup from CBC, both radio, news, and article. And we'd like to extend that to a 1-year trial to really test it fully over the coming year. The ask is for $8,000 to support the instructor costs around really the gym component of that prescribed recreation trial.
Okay, so that's BG and Karamias. Director Roberts?
Yeah, thank you to the chair. Very supportive of this program, and it's had amazing, just for a 2-month trial, what we've been able to see in regards to the health and well-being of isolated seniors in the Similkameen through this prescribed process is no less than phenomenal.
Okay. I'm not seeing any dissent from the other 2 members of that group, so we'll leave it in. Next one.
Yep, the next item is the increase allocation of $8,000 again to salaries and wages for what is under the student position. We've continued to see a massive increase in engagement at the rec center, more bookings, a lot more ice time and activities, as well as gym passes that creates weight on the team there. So we're looking to increase the amount of staff that we can have at the rec center. Another impact and a part of this request is that we moved across to partial students and partial rec programmers in an effort to streamline and support the RDOS organization, rather than having students that move on to university in 2 years' time and we have to retrain again. We've moved to a more adult orientated role where hopefully we have long-term staffing and less rehiring and less weight on the organization as well.
Okay. Not seeing anybody saying no to this one yet, so we'll leave it in for now.
Great. And the last one is around the Similkameen pool. This is, again, $8,000 request to increase the staffing allocation to the lifeguards. We are finally in a position after COVID. We have rebuilt our lifeguarding crew and our depth that we will have students returning from university, allowing us to offer swim lessons for the schools, which we haven't been able to do in the last few years due to the loss during COVID. So we'd really like to be able to offer that to the schools, and that's the ask, to support the lifeguards to do that.
Okay, again, I'm not seeing anybody saying no, so we'll keep it in for now. Thanks for that. The next ones, Wayne, or?
So thank you, Andy. So the next one, I believe this is the last PCR, is for Narmada Water System to increase reserves. This was brought forward by the director, and it's roughly $81 per user.
I'm assuming if it was brought forward by her, she'll be okay with it. Just so the board is aware, we'll move on to the next one.
So the early approval list, which we won't approve until January, but just highlighting them for you at this point, is the PCR 12, which was the IT, PCR 20, which is the Loose Bay operator, and then PCR 34, which we just discussed with Andy for the prescribed recreation, because they would like to start those in January. But again, won't be till first reading before you give early approvals.
Okay. Question, Director Federico?
Yes, thank you, the chair. So there was some unspent funds in my budget from this year that I'm working on, and I'd like early approval on those for next year. So what's the best way? Wayne, we have a meeting and I'll chat with you next week about it, but I'd like for it to hit early approval, so in January. So is that something that I need to bring up? It's only for Area E, it won't impact anybody else. So is that something that can come forward in January?
If it's a carry forward, you don't need early approval because it's in the budget from 25.
Okay, continue that discussion offline, but go ahead.
Follow up to that. So I potentially want to look at that. It's the 80,000 or the 70,000 that was in there. Potentially putting that in the budget then for the following year. So we'll chat about it. I just want to know that if it isn't that carry forward, but it's something new in there, maybe I need to understand better, but just.
Okay, that's an offline discussion. Okay, next.
So we're back to the FTE positions. So we're at FTE 6, which is the cemetery and parks clerk. And I'll let the CAO.
So I'm getting a look from the director. So one of the ones that originally didn't support was the cemetery, because I was looking at the capacity within the organization. You're being asked for a 0.5 FTE, what I'm recommending, and also it's a term position. So what I would recommend is that the board now approve the 0.5, up to a 0.5, with a 0.2 being supplemented by the department. So what we'll be looking at is, with the help that we would be using for the 0.2, if we finish early, the job's finished and it's under budget. Worst case, and the reason I'm saying don't do a less than a 0.5 is we're not going to get anyone for less than a 0.5. So we hire 0.5 term position for 6 months with the help of inside that same department. And because they have help, then it may be finished earlier. And that position is a unique position. And I worked for 3 different local governments. Having someone work in the cemetery department, their core work depends on, unfortunately, the clients. So there's always work that can be added, and this is part of it that I'm recommending.
Okay, Director Taylor?
It's hard not to include some black humor in this discussion, I find. I'd like to have the discussion on this and some of the capital requests with yourself and staff, because I'd like to decline on some of it.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
All right. Question, Director Holmes, or?
Yeah. So aside from the cemetery work, what parks work will this person do?
So this work, just by extension, we bring somebody in a position like this. I think on a regional scale, you'll see some standardization of some of our processes and workflows. So that was the intent with that, is just that by the nature of that position being there, we will drag them into the fight elsewhere.
Okay, Director Monteith.
Thank you. Through the chair. How do I ask this? Is it more cost effective to use a clerk for booking than it would be what we're proposing? Is that an option? Is that something this person for the sports court?
Oh, switch gears. Okay.
Staff can.
Thank you so much, Chair. If I recall, in terms of the various job descriptions, it was selected based on the allocations that are typically outlined in the various job descriptions. I'm not sure if that was an option. Thank you.
Okay, Director Federico, you had a question?
Thank you. There no similar,
Okay.
because I would take that option over a rec coordinator doing bookings of our parks and facilities. So if there's a way that we could look at our job descriptions, that would be great.
I'll go to the CAO.
It's not always easy to change a job description because unions involved, but we can look into it, yes.
Okay. All right. And it looks like at the moment this will stay in unless it's chosen to remove later, or do you want it out and then bring in what is your preference, Director Taylor?
It's there now, leave it, but there's going to be further discussion on all the position and the capital asks as well.
Okay. So next one.
So the next one is the Electoral Area Administration Coordinator, and we were asked to bring back different allocation percentages. So there was 4 options that we came up with. The first option was the option that we presented at the last meeting. The second option was using all the hours off the strategic tracker. The third option was just using legislative services and the corporate officer hours off the strategic tracker. And the fourth option was just using the corporate officer hours on the strategic tracker. And then the fifth option is the directors here can decide what the percentage breakdown would be.
That sounds like a difficult discussion, but Director Monteith.
Thank you. Strategic tracker hours, 20% to area I. I don't really have any live projects, so I don't understand why I would have the highest amount.
Question to.
Yeah, that's we compiled all the hours that were on the strategic tracker and looked at which areas were affected by the projects. So there might not be any specific area I, but it might be a regional project, which would mean you would get 1/15 of those hours.
Okay, Director Federico.
Thank you, through Chair. I know that if we go ahead with a local community commission, I'm going to need way more hours because I'll need somebody dedicated to helping with that. So like it's hard to anticipate without knowing where a few other projects are kind of going. But I mean, and then I think my corporate officer hours seem low. So I anticipated that I would need a lot more than that for projects I've got going for next year. So, I mean, I'm very much in favor of this position, like very, very much so, and just feel like I probably could take up a bulk more of that time.
So through the chair, the 300 hours for those 2 commissions is included in this calculation. We took all the strategic hours off of the current plan. And so that is the way the percentages worked out so far.
I think that would be in establishing those commissions, but she's, I think, referring to the work that would come if they were in place. It would change considerably. But Director Roberts? And
yeah, thank you through the chair. That just stirred up a question for me. So Are we looking at items that may have already been in the budget under a different kind of department or name that then is moved to this position? So we may say an increase and a decrease in regards to the overall budget because it's taking some hours from, right, take from Peter to pay Paul kind of thing? Thanks.
My understanding was that this position is a support position. So we just based it on the hours for the project because on the strategic tracker, those hours are already applied to an employee or department. So this person would be over and above that percentage as support. So it's very difficult to take away from the hours that are already applied. For instance, okay, so let's say the corporate officer had 10 hours for that's for area A, right? We're saying that 8% of those 10 hours is the coordinators, which means that 92% of those hours are the corporate officer. But we can't apply those until this position is accepted. So this is a percentage based on the hours that are in there.
Okay. Did you have another? Okay, CAO?
So this was a very challenging project that we had to do. You can see that there's 4 right now options. Is any one of them right? No, because we're guessing right now. It's a new position that some of the board members here asked staff to put this in here. If the board wants to proceed with this, the best, fairest way is charge it to not general government, but to electoral area government. And for the first year, you're all paying your equal share. But once we know where the workload is, the second year it would change. So it's something that, is it fair? Any system or is fair? No, but we have to start somewhere. So I'm recommending that blank sheet is changes to have everyone pays the same for 1 year if you think you need this position.
Okay. Director Federico?
Thank you.
And gotcha.
This then frees up some other staff within legislative services to get other work done off the strategic tracker then, because some of our electoral area specific priorities would move to this new position, alleviating some workload from other positions.
CAO?
And that's what I'm saying, we needed a 1-year test because I don't know if it's going to free up. It may not. It all depends on what's asked of the person and how much time is going to be involved in it. So a 1-year test would determine what's the best percentage distribution.
Okay. Director Taylor?
I'm going to suggest we follow the money. If we look at how we allocate grants, I think that should have some input here. And the last time we had a grant, we discussed all this same kind of arguments. And in the end, we came back and said, we're going to split it 9 ways evenly. Now, some areas like Area D and Area I had to give up quite a bit of money that way. I'm going to suggest that here we just split this 9 ways. It will, over time, balance out. Because I don't see how you can, on the one hand, when we have money coming in, oh, we'll average that. Okay. And then now when money's going out, we're going to say, oh no, now we want you to pay. It doesn't seem right. If we're averaging it, then we average it. And I would say 1/9 across the board.
Am I seeing any other hands? But I just have the one question that keeps coming to my mind is we already have the items on the strategic plan are set. Is by hiring this person, are we going to add more to that strategic plan? So more is actually accomplished, or are we not going to gain anything but an extra employee? Because that's what it sounds like to me. CAO?
And that's what we'll find out. Can we add it? In a perfect world, yes. but is that what's going to happen? Because the person would be a go-to person where the 9 electoral directors can go to and maybe ask for something that's not on that system in the strategic priorities.
Okay. So we need to get a straw poll from the area directors on this then? Who's in favor of this? In favor, put your hands up so we can see. At this point, it would carry. There's 5 out of the 8 that are here. So it will go for now.
And
Next.
how are we splitting the percentage?
I think it was kind of
Option 1?
option 1, unless somebody else has a different position. But go ahead, Director Taylor.
One of our directors is out of the room at the moment, but if you want a motion, I would move, we average it. We all pay 1/9.
Oh, you want an even split?
Yep.
By area? I don't see that as a really viable, but we'll see. Where it's CAO.
So what I was recommending is that everyone, all 9 pay, but you can't just do 1/9 because the taxes are based on assessment.
Well, like I said, when we get grant money coming in, you manage to average that.
You know, they would go to electoral area admin.
So if you do any splits besides option 1, those splits would all have to run through your rural projects services, because that way your taxpayers are paying the proper amount. If it runs through option 1, all taxpayers are paying the proper amount. Any other change from those percentages, because those are based on assessed value, then you have to run the employee through rural projects so that each area is paying what they're budgeted for.
Okay, so we're at the moment in favor of the position, but which option? There was no real even amount, so Director Coyne?
Is there a job description yet? Because I
Not
think that
really.
might depend on how you fund it as to what the actual job is. Because if it's like what is it, the corporate hours or the legislative hours, like if they're gonna be doing that, then that would make more sense, right? Because you're gonna use more or less of that.
CAO?
No job description yet. We're waiting to see where the board goes with this. And I apologize, we can do the 1/9 if we do it through rural projects, because we could then take 1/9 of the total cost and charge each area.
Okay, Director Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, we just heard the CAO say this is going to be a place where electoral area directors can go and ask for something that's not on the strategic tracker. So why would we use the strategic tracker to justify the expenditure? And there will be some stuff that they do that is on the strategic tracker. I get that. Anyway, I just come down to this. When we have money coming in, we're averaging it. And all the other area directors that don't get as much grant money benefit from that. Now we're looking at spending something, and I just kind of like to see the same principle applied.
Well, I have to argue that because the average is based on a per capita, which is in essence the assessed value, which is option 1. You're talking about a totally different assessment. 9 areas divided equally by 9, that doesn't work out to the same per residence by any means. And that isn't the same way that we average our grants that we get coming in. It's totally different. It's based per capita generally.
Beg to differ. The last grant we got given was a one-off grant, and we struggled with it. We debated for hours.
One, we did do it.
Well, it's the only one I'm aware of.
We get gas tax all the time.
I know.
Director Federico?
Thank you, through the chair. I see where Director Taylor's going, but remember the grants come in usually by population, not by assessed value. So that might sway that a little bit too in differentiation. Now, and I'm coming from a side where I know I'm probably going to take up quite a few hours, so I will be paying more. So I appreciate that. Is there a way to see option 1 and then a split by the 9 so we can see some actual numbers on that? I know we're getting close to like needing a decision and I see they're like, oh, yay. But I just sometimes for us to see the like definitive number on it. And again, appreciating we don't have a job description, so we don't actually have how much this person's gonna make, but.
Quick and dirty number would be 11% per area. 9/11s is 99.
So works out to about 12,500 per area. If you do an even 9% split, it's $1,100 per percent. So right now, area B would be at $3,000. If we do the 9 split, they're at $12,000.
Director Barkwell?
I'll just voice an opinion, although it's not my decision or anything, but as an accountant, I've thought about these things a lot more than other people. And I think, you know, it's going to vary from year to year too. It's going to vary from director to director and issue to issue. And so I really support the CAO's recommendation.
Which was option 1, if I'm not mistaken, but Director Bush?
Yes. So I'm in favor of option 1. And
why would he be? No,
what's funny?
It was pretty obvious. That was where we were going to go.
No, but I'm also going to say that if there's money coming in, I'm in favor of getting less too, because I don't use it.
Yeah. Fair enough. But we do need to make a decision here. So somebody got to put one option on the floor and we'll do a quick vote on it and go from there. Director Bush was the first hand up, so.
I move option 1.
Okay, there's a seconder for that. We'll just discussed it to death, so let's call the question. All those in favor of option 1? Okay, it's just rural. It's just for a straw poll because it's affecting us. It's going to be the end. Everybody decides, but a straw poll, it looks like that one wouldn't carry, but. So it's. There was only, can I get a hands up then for those in favor of option 1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it would carry then. Okay, with the hands up. So at the moment, it's option 1. Let's move on. Interesting, yeah. Director Monteith, you have a.
Director Coyne just brought up a really good point. What is the budget for that service or that role?
He just.
Well, it's in your documents, but I think it was $112,000. It was 107 originally, but that was because it was a union position, but it was established that it was going to be a non-union position, which bumped it to 112,000.
And this is a term position at this stage too?
Term
to be
position,
clear?
yes.
Okay. All right. Capital funding requests?
Do we want to have a break before we start capital funding requests, or?
I think a quick break, sure.
So 15 minutes?
Sure. Done. 15-minute break.
15 minutes.
Are we ready to go, Adam? Getting the thumbs up here, so we'll get started again. I'll turn it over to Wayne to continue us on.
Okay, so this section of the workshop is for capital funding requests. So funding is being requested for new projects in 2026 only. Yellow highlighted lines are carry forward projects from 2025, and capital projects can be found in Schedule E.
Once in a while, take a little bit more to get through the day. No problems otherwise.
I think Adam's doing something.
Clicker's not cooperating. There we go.
There we go. All right, so this one here is asked for early approval. It's for the corporate office upgrades. It says debenture proceeds, but what that is it's dependent on the sale of this building, and it'll be internal borrowing until the sale goes through. 311 is a feasibility study for Anarchist Fire Hall. Or community hall, sorry, not fire hall.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how we want to, we'll just go through these, and if somebody has a.
Yeah, let's go back one and we'll see if there's any issues with the first one. Corporate office upgrades. Go ahead, Director Roberts.
Yeah, thank you, the chair. So just for an understanding, we had purchased, or not purchased, we got an approval for 10 million. And then that was supposed to also cover kind of part of the movement. This is going to be outside of that. That's tied to the possibility of selling this property and borrowing more on top of that 10 million. Thank you.
Maybe you need a better explanation.
My understanding is we purchased the building for 10 million. Any renovations that are going to be done are covered in this ask, and that will be funded through the sale of this building eventually. But until this building sells, it'll be internal borrowing to pay for it.
Okay. Director Monteith?
I agree with the directors. We totally believed and that it was part of the debt. 100%. The public did.
Well, it is part of the debt, but when we sell this building, and if we sell this building, that goes to reduce the debt. And that's what this is doing. But CAO maybe can explain it better?
That's exactly correct. At one point, this building will be sold, and the money from this building will be used to reduce the $10 million. But in that budget, if you go back to the original presentation, you will see that we subtracted, and it was in an open meeting, a specific amount. We fully expect to get more than that original amount. Ultimately, that $10 million won't be $10 million once we sell the building.
Yeah. I'm sensing some confusion here. Go ahead, Director Robert.
Got to follow up. So that, yeah, but this is totally separate from the 10 million because we've talked about that before. We were going to borrow the amount of money that was needed to purchase plus bring it up. Now, this is not part of that 10 million. So you're going to have to, it's now going to be, let's say, 12 million, right? And then the sale of this deals with the 2 million plus here, as well as biting into the 10. Is that correct?
It's probably a more accurate way of describing it, but Wayne or staff?
I'll let Matt talk to this, and I can explain it in layman terms afterwards.
Try, okay? Go ahead, Matt.
Through the chair. So in terms of the overall budget presented at the initial phase of the borrow ask, the budget considered the sale of the proceeds of this building to include the purchase costs as well as the fit out costs. So the $10 million was specifically for the purchase of the building, and the proceeds from the sale of this property will contribute to the upgrades required for the new building. Therefore, any over and above that value will go back and offset the debt costs.
Okay. So everybody's clear on that one. I'll go to Director Taylor and then Monteith.
This transaction is going to take place over a number of years, basically the whole thing by the time it's said and done. We are going to, at the end of the day, be less than $10 million total once all the ins and outs are completed.
Correct.
Okay. So, Director Monteith? You're okay? All right. So at the moment, we'll have to have it in there. It's needing to be somehow paid for. Next one is Area A, and I'm okay with that one. That one's next is Area D, digital speed reader boards. I'm sure you're okay with that, so we'll move on. Area I, digital speed reader and Farley Lake utility. Go ahead, Director Monteith.
Thank you through the chair. The Farley Lake utility, I believe we've done this before. So is it a carry forward?
This was in the budget, and I believe it was in 2024, and it was carried forward to 2026. And then new funding was added in 2026 to increase the cost of the project.
Okay.
But it is a carry forward.
So $40,000 was carried forward from the 2024 budget, and then $40,000 more was asked for in 2026.
Okay, I'll have to meet with staff because I'm unaware of $80,000 going towards this project. So I thought it was only 40.
Okay. Next ones. Area E, a whole whack here. You okay, Director Federico?
Yep, the only thing is the Naramata community design. There was a note on that slide that that should be double. I just wanted to confirm with staff where we're at, and I'll chat with them offline, but publicly just want to know where we're at with that.
Yeah, so that funding request was asked for 40,000, 20,000 in 2026, which is covered here, and then 20,000 in 2027.
Okay. All right, moving on. Area F is not here at the moment, so that'll have to be a later discussion. She was supportive of the digital speed readers though, so we'll probably be keeping them in. Same with G. Director Roberts, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you to the chair. We have the 150 in regards to the Headley Water System study. And of course, I'd never thought more than 100, and we are going to be far less than that. But at the same time, I know that there's been a request and there's an additional need for 50 more grand for the Olalla water system. So I'm wondering whether or not, because this right now is kind of looking at numbers from months ago. I'm now trying to find out when will we see kind of the dust clear and those changes. Thank you.
So yes, you're correct. This was done before the 50,000 was needed for the Olalla Reservoir, which will be coming to next Thursday's board meeting. And then this is actually reduced to 100,000. And this is also coming to the board next meeting because this is to do with Community Works gas tax with a third party. So there's some administrative things we need in order to get that funding approved. So that will be coming at the next board meeting.
Follow up, Director Roberts.
Yeah, thank you. And as we know, it's going to be far less than 100 as well. So I'm seeing a lot of room for the Olalla, which takes priority. Thank you.
Okay. So leaving her in for now. Next ones.
So these are all carry forwards from last year.
911 system and emergency planning. Director Taylor.
Background on why they didn't get done last year?
We'll have to get protective services.
Okay, go ahead, Sean.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just give an update on the Blakeburn and the Karamias, Okanagan Falls, and the security upgrades over. So for the Blakeburn at the communication shell, we have a flight next week over with the subcontractor, and we're hoping to get this done by the end of the year. And that's just the redoing siding on our communication shell. So hopefully this year we're going to have it completed. The Karamias, the pin cushion and the relocation, that's been an ongoing challenge with the property owner. And we are currently identifying a new site. This is a reason why we're unable to continue with this project here for the $120,000 site relocation. The access road to get up up over to the site. It requires $230,000 over for it to get updated. So obviously we don't have that in the budget, and I don't think it's fair over to the ratepayers over to upgrade a road for a TELUS and Rogers site. So we're identifying a new location. The Okanagan Falls, the repeater, the relocation, that is still in discussions with Rogers. Hopefully we'll have a co-location agreement with them in the coming weeks here. However, we've had a lot of delays on the Rogers end. The RDOS has actually they completed a co-location agreement with RCMP, so that's actually saving the taxpayers a ton of funding. So that's actually a really good project we're working on, but there are a bit of delays with that. So we're hopeful that we can get the agreement completed by the end of the year and all the equipment ordered, but not installed until probably January, February. The radio site security upgrades, that project is still continuing along. That we are working with the planning department over for the PIA assessments over to put up security cameras at these sites. And that the process that takes a while.
Okay, Director Roberts and then Coyne.
Yeah, thank you to the chair. Just want to bring to the attention of the board, of course, that the disagreements and issues with the property owner, this is the same foreign property owner that has held up our regional trail and taken away public lands and not provided any way forward, even though directed by the ALC. So it's just wanted to throw out there. Makes me feel a little bit better to get that out. Thank you.
Okay, Director Coyne and
Yeah,
Bush.
just a small clerical. Can we change that to Blakeburn, not Blackburn?
Yes, we can.
There is no Blackburn.
Yes. And yeah, I'm actually flying up to site on a Monday, so hopefully we'll get a quote, and that should be under the $30,000, hopefully for it.
Okay, Director Bush.
And so what about the one with the PIB that we were moving? Is that anywhere in here too?
I'll be having a report coming forth over to the board on the 20th. And that would be a request for funds out of reserves.
Okay. Anybody opposed to these at the time being? They're all most of them are carry forwards. So leaving them in for now. Go. Next ones.
So I believe these were talked about in the meeting when the closed meeting that was discussed with IT.
Okay. This is fire protection. Whoops.
Sorry, Jim wanted to make sure that this was, everybody had an opportunity to see this one.
They're all from reserves.
Okay.
Not seeing any hands on it. Okay. Fire protection here. Go ahead, Director Roberts.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. I'm seeing again, we've got from operating reserves and then we've got growing community funds. I'm assuming that's B&Gs covering that?
That is correct.
Not seeing any issues there. Fire protection, OK Falls. And fire protection, Colmont, Tulameen. Anything in either of them, Director Taylor?
Only to just ask, are these really capital purchases or are they operating purchases? Because we do them every year.
Yes, they're run through the capital service because sometimes the dollar value limit makes it a taxable capital asset, which has to go on our TCA schedule. So if they buy a bunch of bunker gear, the group of bunker gear would be considered a capital asset. If they only buy one, that one may not reach the threshold. So that's why we run it through capital.
Okay. And Director Coyne is okay with those in Tulameen. It's given the thumbs up. So moving on. Khalidin and Naramata. I'm not sure where Director Monteith went, but I think there was an issue on some of those amounts from the last time with her.
We had a meeting with the fire chief, and this matches what is on his
Okay, so that's
budget.
been-
She supports what the
Okay.
fire chief has.
It'll get caught the next time around if it's not, so. All right, anarchist and
So with the anarchist, I believe the 120,000 is looking to be increased, but we won't know that until probably first reading.
Mhm.
And I know that the director's been involved in the conversations with that.
Yeah, no problems there. And fire protection Apex.
And
Again.
same thing, this matches the chief's budget and the director supports the chief's budget.
Okay. Refuse disposal, Oliver, solid waste. Operating and capital reserves mostly. No issues there. Nobody's jumping up and down. So. There was a.
Do we want to go back to the two fire?
You could.
halls?
There was two that Director Monteith, one for, oh, let's go to the Cleeden one. You're okay with those? No? Okay. And then the other one from Apex.
The $20,000 was the gas tax that you approved for him.
Okay. Community Works, it says, that's fund. We use those two interchangeably. Every now and then it misses what one it is. Okay. I didn't see any hands on this one, so we'll be okay there. This is areas B, G, and Caremius. Director Roberts?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Again, as stated, BG and Caremias. I notice, of course, with community funds, I'm wondering how this gets allocated fair and equitably between the three participants. It's kind of like an inference to that with the fire hall, but that's a future thing. This right now is an ongoing trilateral service between all of us. So how do we have this so it can be a little bit clear in the documentation to see, you know, how we're all working together to deal with this closure plan? Thank you.
Wayne can.
I can only speak that this was a carry forward, so the CAO would like to tackle this one.
Okay, over to CAO.
Whenever a municipality and the electoral area are in partnership, the problem arises in that if the electoral areas use their gas tax, the municipalities can't. So the way to be fair is to increase the reserves so that the reserves can fund any of the capital projects. So in this case here, the $7,100, that is the B and G as it says here. And Caremias can say thank you because they're getting their portion free.
Yeah. Small bit of that is benefiting them. Okay.
So in the future, rather than funding through B and G gas tax, you would put a transfer to reserve in for that amount, and then everybody would pay the same portion.
Okay. Solid waste.
Is Campbell Mountain.
This is huge amount of money. Director Monteith?
Thank you. Just going back to the last slide, when you have a municipality and electoral areas in the same service, it feels complicated. Is there a way to split? Area I and Area D are kind of in the same boat, right? And I'm kind of looking at this saying, uh-oh, there's a problem coming down the pipe for my area as well. So can we separate a service into the two? Like, would it make more sense for Caremias to have its own service and B&G to be in a shared service, if that's your wish? Is that, like, I'm just trying to figure out how to do this fairly, because that gas tax issue is a big issue. And Area G is gonna be putting more in reserves and then subsidizing, you know, like a municipality, like it just doesn't feel fair. And I'm not picking on Karamias. I'm just using that as an example because I see it happening to Area I very soon.
It's only the gas tax that actually ends up subsidizing the area or the municipality, but go ahead, CAO.
You are correct. The only place that's not fair is the gas tax part of it. The only way to do it is something similar with what the city of Penticton and West Bench has become a contract. And this will happen when Oak Falls becomes its own municipality. There's going to be some contracts similar to Penticton West Bench. Then that issue, it won't arise here because you don't pay with, you never fund it with gas tax. However, to split up Karamias B and G, that would be very difficult. It's easier just to throw it all in one pot and charge it. However, all I really need to do is we're starting to follow the board's revenue policy. And when that revenue policy is fully established and the reserves are where they are, this shouldn't happen anymore.
Okay. Move on to the next one. I'm not seeing any dissent. Lots of carry forwards there. Looks like a question, Director Monteith.
I feel like a broken record. These, the carry forwards with our current strategic plan, how many of the carry forwards are actually gonna get done? Are they gonna push current strategic plan items forward? Like, it feels like we're moving so much forward that is a lot of work, but we're putting more work on that service or that department. And it's just not even just one department, it's every department. So it's across the whole region. So I think this is more of a Jim question.
CAO?
It is a Jim question, and I am concerned about it. One of the things I will be bringing to the board is that if a project is not started within 2 years that the board has authorized it, I'd like it to automatically come off and have to come back to the board as a priority again. As it stands right now, anything that's carried forward is moved over to 2026. If you remember, I stated that there was 11,000 hours of work that moved over from 24 to 25. Well, there's going to be a smaller amount of hours because we are going to be doing a lot of this work. Some of this work will be finished. This is based on right now a projection, and it may be changed. They may just disappear by the time it goes to first reading, because as Sean just stated earlier, some of the one project that was on here that says carry forward will be done this year. So once the board makes the changes in the capital projects, I'm hoping that you're not going to see as many carry forwards. I'm not very happy with the number that we're asking. We're over promising because we're anticipating things are going to get done, and because of whatever happens, they don't get done.
Okay. Follow up to that, Director Monteith, or?
Thank you. So once again, it's not this department I'm talking about. It's sort of like an organizational concern I have, is that we're constantly adding more, but we're never catching up. So when you talk about a project coming off, if it's not completed in 2 years, that puts us all back in a competitive debate process about items that were already approved by the board to get there. Like, I don't know if that's a fair process, because now you're putting current projects against historical projects that were important enough to make it to the work plan. It just feels like we're going to be pushing the electoral area directors even further away from getting our projects completed.
CAO?
So I did recognize this. It is a problem, and I am working on it. You're going to see a lot less capital requests next year because I want it to be realistic. Never have I seen so many asks in capital, and never have I seen so many carry forwards, because it's not happening. And I will be looking at this very carefully. And as far as changes go, I'm going to put my finger in the pie and have this corrected for next year.
Okay. The one question I do have on this is the bio cover. What's the carry forward on there? And what's the issue with that one?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the excuse me, the carry forward is just the money that we haven't spent with the implementation of it. What we had allocated for 2025, that was kind of what we estimated wouldn't be spent by the end of the year. And then the new money, the new ask is because we are going to be actually implementing full biocover on the first phase of the landfill this coming year.
Okay. All right. Not seeing any other hands or questions on this one, so move on. Utilities, Okanagan Falls sewage disposal mainly. See him nodding his head, okay. Oh, Director Bush had a question?
So this facility in OK Falls, is this one that's being negotiated with the OIB?
No.
Nope.
The only negotiations on this one is whether it stays with the RD for very long or the municipality. That's the only thing on that one.
So this one here, Vintage View Sewers, has debenture proceeds, but that was approved when we took the service over.
Okay. Loose Bay.
So Loose Bay and Seacrest are interchangeable, and this is a carry forward of the site improvements that is grant funded.
Okay. Sage Mesa. Okanagan Falls again. Anything there, Director Taylor? No. Folder. This one's area F. Not here to deal with that one.
Lakeshore Water System, same thing. The debenture proceeds were approved when we took over the service.
Okay. Willowbrook. The biggest one was the grant, which has covered all that. So
Ska Estates, very similar to the other two.
debenture proceeds, yeah. Naramata Water System. Okay. Olala.
Again, this one's going to have additions brought forward at the next board meeting.
Okay. West Bench. Moving on. No question, Director Federico?
Yeah, sorry, I'm late to the party on this one, but going to our earlier discussion about vehicle replacement, is that included in any of our water systems as well? Were those included in what we talked about earlier? Yep.
Okay.
Yes, they were.
All right. West Bench. Moving on. Sun Valley Water System. Okanagan Falls. Missoula Lake. Anything there, Director Coyne? No. Shinnish Creek diversion.
This one's going through the public assent process currently.
Okay, it's in that process now.
Yes.
Solid waste. Does this include everybody or what's this one specific?
Yes, this one includes everyone.
Okay. The management plan, yeah, okay. Could I go back one? What's the 30,000 for cart storage? Can that one be explained?
So this is
I'll
for
store
the,
'em for a lot less than that.
this is building a
Yeah.
storage area to hold all the extra bins from the curbside bins for each area. As we know, we had to buy more bins than needed in case ones break and we need replacing. Or
I
new
understand there's
houses
a
built.
need for them, but that seems awfully expensive for storage fees.
We're, okay, Lisa will handle this.
That one just caught my eye at the last second, but please, Lisa.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's not storage fees. It's a one-time fee to actually create an asphalt pad where we can safely store them.
Okay,
And,
so it's more of a capital cost than it
is.
is rent for a storage of some sort.
No, it's at one of our facilities. We just don't have a good and clean place to keep them.
Okay,
And
that makes more sense to me and a little more palatable. Thank you. Next one. Parks, Area A.
This was the schedule given to us by Soyuz.
Mhm. No, and Area C.
Oh,
Parks.
and sorry, before we move on, the arena for Soyuz in Area A has the same issues that Garamius B and G have, where A submits gas tax and the town of Soyuz benefits from that, but all residents in Area A benefit from it. So. And all,
just a question here first. Director Monteith?
Thank you. Is UBCM aware that that happens? That a rural area is using gas tax and a municipality benefits?
yes,
And that's okay?
it's an eligible project, so they don't mind funding eligible projects.
Kind of I wouldn't call it a loophole, but it is.
We also own the facility. The RDOS owns the arena, so that may be where the confusion's coming from as well.
Yeah. It meets all the criteria. And Area C here one, anything there, Director Chahal's aware of those? Okay. Karamius, B and G, Parks. Not seeing any hands there. Karamius Pool. Again, seeing nothing there.
I got a question on this one, Mark. The upgrades, what are they for? For the 60,000?
For the
Pool
pool, I
upgrades.
believe it's to do with the chlorination system. I think it was metal tanks. I'd have to look at the form for certain, but I believe it was metal tanks for the chlorination system.
Thank you.
Okay.
Again, all of our parks and rec are the ones that submit the asks, so.
Next one, sorry, Director Bush.
So going back to the pool, Karamis, B and G, what's the long-term plan CF 50,000?
So that's the carry forward for the long-term plan on how oh, sorry, Andy will speak on it.
Go ahead,
Thank
Andy.
you. Through the chair, the CF is the carry forward. The long-term plan is the step we started this year on addressing that facility itself and trying to be ahead of the plan for that asset. We've done a lot of work on the outside of the pool, the liner, the pump house, everything looks good, but the structure itself needs addressing. So we're trying to get ahead and start the process of looking at options for long-term either replacement, movement, such like, and go for community engagement at some point on their thoughts on next steps for the facility.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay, thank you. And one more ahead, I think we were Tulameen Rec Commission. Anything there, Director Coyne? It's okay. OK Falls Rec Commission. Director Taylor?
Just want to clarify that the irrigation replacements, to my understanding, is actually lighting. And again, this is something I'll be chatting about with the manager next week.
That is correct. Right now, I believe that project is going to be pushed out and on hold for now until the new municipality is formed. But we can chat about that in our one-on-ones.
Okay. Fair enough. Cleaton, Parks and Rec. Anything there, Director Monteith?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. So as this is a carry forward, I see that salary and wages are coming out of operating reserve. Is that, okay, so, okay.
Good. Naramata. All good. Area F. She'll have to have that in your one-on-one meetings.
I talked to the director about this and she approves these ones.
Area B, Parks. He's nodding yes. Director Monteith had a question?
Yeah, going back to the one back, we have
Area
riding
F?
arenas.
There is, I believe, 2 public riding arenas in the RDOS. I think one's in Willowbrook and one's in Area F.
Interesting. All right, learning something new.
There's always something.
That's horseback riding. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no dirt bikes or quads or.
Yeah. So B was good. The next one, Area C, Parks. He's shaking his head okay. Regional Trails.
So this one here, the project for the trail resurfacing of $400,000 will still need public assent in order to proceed.
Okay, Director Roberts.
Thank you, and I'd like to speak to it. Again, I think umbrage to the word actually resurfacing. There's never been any surfacing on the regional trail. And I did ask today about, specifics, because again, you says Red Bridge. It's actually the area that's from Karamias to as far as where we run into that foreign property owner's property. That is unrideable for children, can't have bicycles, can't have strollers. Ever since the regional district took it on as a regional trail, it got bullards and it's been mowed every once in a while, but it's never been surfaced. So again, this is part of the way of, looking at something that is supposed to be a regional asset, but it wasn't even brought to a usable, if, for instance, if I want to pave it, or if I want to throw up bathrooms, or I want to have it lit, that's on us, or on me. But here to actually have a functional, and again, I was promised in regards to the 400,000 that is truly in regards to going out to debenture, it's way beyond what has been stated as one of the possible contracts. There's a lot of stuff in regards to discussions of where the regional trail again itself is being what's supposed to be the regional trail where we have our standing lease. Farming and other properties have dug into it. And so there's a lot of questions around that, but I don't believe there's any way that this is going to come to that cost. But again, it's really important to know that we've not ever had a usable trail surface from Karamias on, and going the other direction is just the original rail and just gets mowed. So again, it's something where as a regional asset has never really been brought to a usable level. Thank you.
Okay. And I think we're going to have a bit of a discussion on the wayfinding for Osuius 1, but otherwise okay. Naramata Museum. You're okay there? Moving on. Cemetery Area D. Anything there, Director Taylor? It's okay.
So again, we will bring it forward at the January 1st reading, but just to highlight that corporate facilities ask is for early approval, community design for Area E rural projects, information services, and then the floor refinishing and entrance accessibility projects for Similkameen Recreation are going to be asked for early approval. I believe the entrance and accessibility doors have been brought to each of the directors for approval now because it's due to grant funding that we needed early approval before the January. So they have all said yes so far, and we'll just need the formal yes come January.
Next one.
So we are way ahead of schedule, which is good. So maybe we'll finish early today. So now I'll get
Woke somebody
Adam
up.
to switch over to my PDF version of Schedule D. And so I just want to do an overview of the operational budget. Things to note on the operational budget are wage allocation refining had started in 2024, where we're trying to make sure that all wages are being charged to the services that actually require them. So we're continuing that process. It's ever evolving. And an example of this year was wages were pulled from rural projects for any rural project budget that did not have an actual project in it. So that's kind of one of the ways that we can see it. As I talked about earlier, reserves are also being analyzed to make sure that we're in policy compliance. Examples, again, rural projects. Most operational reserves for rural projects are technically outside of policy, being that they have more money than the policy allows. It was also brought up at the last meeting that our general government had very healthy reserves. When looking at general government, which we will go to the next. Can you zoom it in maybe, Adam, a little bit to make it bigger on the screen? So as we can see here, the operating reserve for general government had $4.4 million in it. So on the surface, it looks like we have a lot of money, but when you analyze what's in that operating reserve, our remaining growing communities funds that were received are sitting in that reserve. So of that, that's $3.2 million. Well, that $3.2 million is already earmarked for different projects. So theoretically, it's not money that we have access to. So that's where the balances may look a little bit higher than they should be, but once the analysis is done, we can see it. So I'm working really hard to have the committed values for the 5-year plan installed for first reading. So you'll see what the committed funds are and what the projected balances would be at the end of the 5 years. So when I do this one in particular, I'll remove in the committed funds all the growing community fund projects, and then that will give us an idea of what the actual operating reserve for general government is. Also note that the support departments, legislative services, finance, HR, communities, corporate services, IT, and communications all access the operating funds from general government. So it's not just this one page, you would have to include the other support departments. The other piece too is tax requisition limits. As we have seen, there's a few services that are above the establishment bylaw percentages. So we will need direction from the board to make a resolution to guide legislative services to either up the limit values, or we may have to go to AAP in some sort of public assent in order to get the service within the budget because sometimes it's exceeded the amount that we can do without public assent. So I will highlight those ones that are out currently and we'll make a list.
Okay.
So to start, as we can see, general government is at 5.62. So the increase is due to contracts outpacing budget and wage allocation adjustments. One thing that I did notice after putting these documents together was that the internal borrowing of 29,400 that's seen in the expenses was not recognized in the revenue. So once I apply that, it dropped from 5.62 to 4.26. So that will be, you will see that on first reading. Oh, this is going to be fun. You're going to have to help me out there, Adam. To go to the next page. So, no. So 130 will be the next one. One more. There you go, legislative services. So this is in a negative value, but that is because communications has been separated from legislative services into its own operating budget. The two of 130 and 140, which is communications, when you add them together, it meets the 4% that the board has asked. So this one will be negative 3.61. And then when we go to the next one, it'll be 100% obviously because it's a new service. This isn't working out the way I anticipated. So corporate facilities 0160. There's miscellaneous revenue. So if you go up to services there, Adam, 2 pages. One more. So this one here, there's miscellaneance revenue. And I just wanted to point out that that is the income from the rentals in the Skaha Lake building.
Okay.
0300 electoral area administration. So, okay.
Go back one if we could. And then there it is. Okay. I think we're okay now. Next one.
So next one is 0300, which is electoral area administration.
There we are.
So I'm just highlighting the ones that are over the 4%, or if something has an anomaly in it that I believe the board needs to be aware of. Those are the ones I'm touching on. So this one here, the wage allocation is part of the reason for the increase. The other part is the election transfers to smooth out that we talked about in the PCR requests. We're trying to do that for the elections. As you can see on the special project election electoral areas, there's 100 in 2026 and then 25,000 for each of the remaining years, so that at the end, we're pulling $75,000 from reserve in 2030 and only taxing 25,000. And that way it smooths out the tax requisition. So the next one is
Question, Director Monti or Rodrigo?
Thank you, through the chair. How come in this year we pulled 45,000 from operating reserve?
in 2025. I'm assuming it was to keep the taxation lower. But I can look into that and get back to you.
Okay.
0310 is rural projects area A. So the reason why this one has been fluctuating is it's your parks compliance to keep your parks in bylaw. It's a recovery line that's put in, and we're in the process of doing that bylaw, I believe. 320, which is the next page. Again, this is Area B's rural projects, and it's due to the parks compliance again for Area B, which we are working on that bylaw. Okay, 330. So this one here, just wanted to highlight that there's a operational carry forward for the Fairview town site paving. And 350 or 340, sorry.
D.
So this one here was and I spoke with the director about this. The transfer to reserve was lowered because there was a specific purpose in 25, which is why it was so high, and that's why it dropped it to the negative 85,000.
Director Taylor?
5%, I should say.
Can we learn what's in salaries and wages?
So this one here, you can see there was an allocation originally of 18,000, and then we made the adjustment before workshop to lower it 18,000. So there's actually no wages in 2026 because there's no projects. Because there's a negative sign that's pretty hard to see in front of the dollar sign on the second line. But if you put those two together, that's why it's $7,000 of total expenses instead of 40,000.
Okay. It's good there.
Okay, 0350. Rural projects area I, again, we removed the wages. So it's just to show directors that we've removed them. 0360, area E. Very similar, and as the director had pointed out before about the social development coordinator, it is in there for 2026 as the carry forward, and the second year trial is also in there for 2027. There is wages in 26 and 27 to facilitate that project, but as you can see from 28 and beyond, there is no wages.
Okay, Director Federico?
Thank you, through the chair. So because it's in there, I don't need early approval because it's carry forward from this year.
That is correct.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay, now 370. Area F, I talked to the director about this already. There's an invasive tree program that will need to be moved to a different service for 2027. So we'll have to work on that in 2026. Then 0380, electoral G. So this is showing that the wage allocation has been removed, but there is a recovery for the street lighting compliance, which we'll talk about when we get to the street lighting budget. Then 0390, which is rural projects area H. I also talked with the director on this, how a contract, the $42,000 contract was moved to emergency planning. And that's why that one's a negative.
Okay.
And we go into 0400. So the reason why this one was increased was wage allocation and the debt servicing cost full effect from the 800,000 borrowed in 2025, increased from 2025 to 2026. And the big one that I wanted to highlight was Central Fire Dispatch has informed the RDOS of a large increase starting in 2027 if we use their service. So it's going from projected from 432 to 703,000. Currently, management is looking at options for that. If we go to 0410, so this one here is a 2-pager. I noticed in my analysis between workshop and now that this service, the carry forwards, were not removed from the support costs, so that will decrease the percentage as the support cost will be more in line with last year's. 0425. One more. One more. So this was the one that we talked about in the PCR requests, how the contract increased to where it is actually. Okay, 0600. Again, these ones were talked about in the PCR requests. As we can see, software licensing and contract services increased from the year before. Okay, the next one. So this again, we talked about in the PCR request. This was the fire protection for West Bench Sage Mesa, and it was due to the contract from the city of Penticton. Now we can jump to 2500, which is building inspection. All the fire halls are within the 4%, so that's why we're not touching on them. Building inspection here. So we're able to do some more transfers from the stabilization reserve, which will bring this back into the 4% compliance for the board. So that'll be done at first reading. 2600. So this one was a little bit higher, and the reason for it is the bylaw allocation as directed by the enforcement department. For first reading, I'll make sure that the transfers from reserve get done so that it's within that 4% goal. As you can see on this one, the operating reserve is at 37,000, which is high for what the service is allowed. It's allowed 20% of 67,000. So we'll use those transfers to bring it into compliance. The other thing I'll mention too is if you see on the revenue side, there's a $100 transfer to reserve, and on the expense side, there's a $100 transfer to reserve. So it's an in and an out. The reason why we have that on there is to allow us at the end of the year for any surpluses or deficits that we can actually use the transfers from reserve to cover those. Without having that, we would have to come to the board again to get permission to do that. So it's being added to the budgets this year.
Okay, Director Taylor?
I'm just wondering again if at some point we can get some historical idea of what the load is on D and what the load is on I in terms of call volume or hours or what have you.
Yes, I believe the CAO has approved that.
Okay.
Okay, now if we go to 3000, which is refuse disposal Oliver. So right now this service is at the maximum tax requisition of 160,000. So we'll have to make a decision on whether we update the bylaw or stick within the bylaw limits.
It's under the 4% though, so what needs to be decided there?
We'll have to come back to this one to see. Not 100% sure. I'll have to confer with Alan and Lisa to see if this needs increasing or if we just stay at the max 160,000 taxation.
Okay.
So now the curbside budgets, which is 3520, 3530, 3540, 3550, 3570, 3580, and 3590 are all increased. And the reason being is we are now at the full waste management contract, where in 2025, we only had 6 months. Now we're at the full amount. So that's why we see the increase. After that, it levels off because the contract's set. So I can go through these with the directors and our one-on-ones for those ones so that you can see what that looks like.
Yeah, I think everybody will want to see their impacts.
100%, yeah. 3905, which is our Loose Bay Seacrest campground. So this one here, we have a $12,000 contribution from Oliver. As Jim mentioned, this service is only ever taxed for Area C residents. I know that $12,000 is being brought forward to the Oliver board, but I haven't received confirmation that that is approved yet. So until I do, I may pull it out for first reading and wait to see what Oliver responds with.
Okay.
3920, which is water system folder, and we're at the max amount for the bylaw as well, so that will have to be looked at. Next one is 4250, which is illegal dumping. So transfers for reserve to reserve were decreased on this one. As we can see, it was 18,025. We've decreased it to nothing in 2026, and that's to keep the reserve within policy limits. And then the next one is 4,400, which is West Bench soil removal. I talked to the director about this one as well. So wages was adjusted to actuals. This was a new service last year, so we had a ballpark of what the wages were going to be. This is dictated by how many applications are supplied. And so the planning department gave me an idea of how many average would happen, and that's why the wages went down. 5020 is the next one, which is sub-regional. And this was for the consultants.
For the RGS?
Yeah, RDS.
Okay.
So the consultants was lowered. We are looking at new ways to do the, what's the word for it? Legislative requirements for this service.
Director Federico?
Thank you, Chair. I'm struggling with why we're taxing on this every year, especially since we have a big operating reserve, and why the RGS isn't just included in planning in general. So some history on how we got to this in this state, and then why we continue to put an absorbent amount of money into it annually.
I will have to pass that off to
CAO?
I'll have to look into it before my time. It is a specific service, so that's something that was service establishment bylaw created it. We'll have to go back and look at the history of why. As far as continuing to finance it through taxation rather than reserves, it's not sustainable if we continue to finance it through reserves. So that's something that we do have a reserve policy that we're abiding by, and we want to keep it within that policy so we can use some of that reserve to reduce it. But I would never recommend to use 100% of the reserves.
Okay, follow up, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, through the Chair. I don't understand why we put this much money into this on an annual basis, regardless of reserves or not. Like, the RGS isn't something we tackle every year. It's on a 5 to 10 year cycle. So the fact that we keep taxing almost $50,000 for this, there's no way enough staff time goes into that. So for any of us participating, I think it possibly a broader conversation on what we're actually funding on this on an annual basis, and why it's not just kind of like we do with the funding for the words escape me now, but like, we don't need to be putting this, I don't think we need to be putting funding into this annually to that amount.
CAO?
Well, before the board makes any decision, I'd ask staff to bring a report to see what you're getting out of it. Staff, please bring a report.
Just for in the meantime, though, right now, we're in the middle of that RGS review, so there is a significant amount of staff time that's being utilized. So that's probably why we're seeing it right now in there. But it's supposed to be a 1-year review, but it usually ends up being 2 to 3 years. But I'll let Alan maybe speak to it a little more.
Sure, thank you, Chair. So the legislative requirement is to update it every 5 years. So the intent is to try to flatten out the tax increases, but we certainly don't have to take that approach. Currently, right now, the review that we require to complete now, we're still in the process of doing the last update, is my understanding. So the last update has been going on for 5-ish years to further to your point.
Okay, Director Coyne?
So an RGS is supposed to be annually reported back, so would you not need money for that as well? Like, you're supposed to make sure that everything's in alignment and it's supposed to be reported back. We've never done that here. I know you go to the TNRD and you go to the other regional districts that have RGSs, they do all the reporting back, but we've never historically done that, but you're supposed to. Yeah, because you're supposed to make sure your bylaws are in compliance with the RGS and all the rest of it. So would you not?
Yeah,
need
thank
to
you.
keep that going?
Yes, thank you, Chair, for the director's comment. Certainly, we have yearly reporting out requirements, and I think the province is going to be looking at local governments even more so with the acceleration goal of all the housing to make sure that we're doing all that reporting. And certainly, there is work required from staff every year in that regard.
Okay. I think we're all right there, other than maybe there could be some reduction a little bit on that one.
The next one is 5,700, which is mosquito control. This one is approaching the bylaw limit as well. Next one is 7050, which is the Soyuz Arena. And this one was over the 4%, but that was due to the budget set forward by Soyuz. Next are all of our parks and recreation, 7,100, 7,300, 7,400, 7,700, and 7,810. Their bylaw states that all 5 of those services have to meet one requisition limit, and currently they are at the maximum limit. So we'll go to 7,200, which is Similkameen Recreation, and that one is also at the maximum tax requisition. Then we go to 7410, which is Frank Venable's Auditorium. And as we talked about in the PCR, that was due to the MFA servicing percentage reset.
Quick question for you. When we have those that are at their maximum, should we not, for 2027, have that maximum amount as your tax requisition rather than keep upping it? Because we seem to keep upping it every year. So we're anticipating going above it next year, and we haven't even discussed it. So.
Yes, that was part of the analysis that on first reading, you will see that going forward. I wasn't able to catch some of them before I did the printouts, but yes, that's theoretically what will happen.
Okay, thank you.
And normally when that happens, then the transfers to reserve will be decreased as the managers set the operational costs. And then it'll be a conversation with the managing directors and their managers to get the service within compliance, depending on the board direction.
Okay.
Okay, 7490, which is Recreation Commission Tulameen. This one again is at the bylaw limit. $75.30, which is Recreation Commission Kaleden. This is also at the bylaw limit. It will be over in 2028. 7560 Recreation West Bench is at the tax requisition limit as well. 7580, which is Community Parks Area B, which we've talked about since last year. That one is also at the limit, which I believe we're working on that one. 7820, which is the Heritage Grant as discussed in the PCR. The operational budget was over the 4%, being that that's what they submitted. So we are not including the 25,000 additional ask, but there was a little bit more than the 4% in the operating budget. I'll need direction from the directors if they want it set at the 4%, or is their original operating budget ask acceptable?
Is this specifically Area C or is this Area C all over?
I believe it is. I'll pull it up here. Hang on. Yeah, I believe it's Oliver in Area C, but I'm just going to double check to make sure I didn't make a mistake. Yes, this is Oliver and Area C.
Okay, so that's a future discussion. Sure, go ahead, Director Johansson.
Yeah, I think what's pushing it over is the support costs or the admin costs. Right, just because they came and presented to us, not including that, so that's what's tipping it over.
Agreed.
From what they presented
Yeah.
to us. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Next one.
7860 Museum Area A. In the past, the insurance was not budgeted, so that has been caught up for this year. 7870 Community Parks Area A, which we've talked about before. This one is also in the works as it's outside of compliance. Then we looked at 7930, which is grant and aid for Area B. The reason why this one was higher was the prior year transfers to reserve. I know the percentage looks like a lot of money, but it's not. It's like $500 makes the 20% jump. So don't be alarmed by the 20%, but that is why it went up.
Okay.
7940 grant and aid Area C. So this one again has a very large operating reserve, and we decreased the grants to a more reasonable level to what historically has been handed out in the past. So we looked at a 5-year average and it was around $5,000. So that's where we lowered it from 57 to 5. Now, if a director has a specific project that they want to give grant to, then obviously we can increase that, but we brought it down to a more manageable level.
Okay.
And that was partially due to the operating reserve being so high as well. So 7950 grant and aid Area D. This had the same scenario. There was a project in 2025 that was earmarked and we brought it back down to the normal levels. And again, their operating reserve is quite high. 7960, which is Area E. And this was the exact same scenario. Then we went to 8200.
Question there, Director Federico?
Thank you, through chair. Not a question. That's going to come down because I have a late request that I need to get in the next few weeks for that one. So it'll be eaten up. So this year should show a 0 and I will need to go into some of my reserves. So that number will change.
Okay. So in our one-on-one, we'll make sure we add that before first reading. Okay, so the next one is 8200, which is regional transit. So this, the transit services are set by BC Transit, and they're looked after by Matt Weller, and we have gone through these together. And part of the reason why the decrease was because of the prior year deficit, where there's no deficit this year. 8240, which is Transit West Bench. So this one has a bylaw limit for the parcel tax, and that will need to be increased, or something else will have to happen.
Okay. Question, Director Taylor?
Yeah, so transit fares, $700?
Yes.
$600?
Yeah, the transit services are all supplemented by the areas. We don't collect enough to pay for the service through transit fares.
And I don't know what the ridership is there, but I suspect it's pretty low. You'll have to look when it comes to yours as to what's there.
Oh, no, I have been.
You have been, okay. Director Coyne?
Yeah, transit is like recreation. It's something that's you can never recover. You can never recover from user fees. But you also have to remember, what did the province has come up with we have, what is it, under 12 or whatever, you get to ride for free now. And there's all these other initiatives where we're trying to encourage ridership with no fees and stuff. So you always got to keep that in the back of your mind too. But when it comes to transit, unfortunately,
It's heavily subsidized.
it's a token to get on the bus and the rest is supplemented for the greater good of the population.
Follow up there, Director Taylor, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask staff, I guess, if we can look at, I don't know about this service, but certainly there's 20. If we can look at, I mean, does it make sense for us to be paying for the 20, or should we ask for another bus trip on the 40? And we're talking about this separately, but I just see this possibly being in the same category.
Okay, Mr. Weller?
Through the chair, thank you for that comment. We have approached BC Transit to do a review of the services and looking at that the ridership and their cost per hour for services around the region. So that'll be something to be undertaken next year, and I'm hoping to bring some more information to the board in the first half of next year to present the state of play and then opportunities for improvement and working hand in hand with BC Transit.
Okay.
So next one is 8300 Transit and Armada. So this one again was a prior year transfer from reserve.
But there's significant fare recovery there.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit more ridership there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, $4,000 makes a big difference in percentage wise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Director Federico.
Thank you, through the chair. Not a comment on this as well. And Mr. Weller and I have been chatting offline about services that to hit our after school children, because it's not, and the way that the school board's busing has changed. We'll probably see an increase in there to help accommodate some of our younger generation that's gapped in there. So I anticipate that will possibly change at some point in time.
Okay. Moving on.
8500, which is Transit Area D. This bylaw also needs updating.
Okay. Director Coyne?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if staff can explain quickly how, because I'm hearing from Matt Taylor, looking for a service change and Director Federico as well. There's a process, right, where BC Transit has to do a bunch of stuff for it to happen. So can you just quickly explain that so that we understand before we go further?
Matt will answer that.
Sure. Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you for that question. Through the chair, the Transit Future Plan, can't remember the exact name off the top of my head right now, maps out a future plan for the region in terms of transit expansion and improvements based on needs as population grows and people need to move. So the process can be driven through the RDOS and making requests for transit improvements. It is hindered by provincial funding. BC Transit has the ability to add service, but that's based on the province providing them the money to do so. And on top of that, BC Transit also brings forward recommendations, as was done earlier this year, with regards to the expansion for the Route 70 and the option for a increased service in the town of Oliver. So, yeah, hopefully that clarifies.
And they do that in a 5-year cycle, right? Like that's how we're having to do ours. So I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, but my understanding is we can intervene in that process. If we want to increase service or change service levels, we can go through that process, not immediately, but it can be something. And as part of that review for regional transit or transit around the region next year, we can consider that and whether there's opportunities to add service, remove service. That's really contingent on BC Transit having capacity.
Okay, Director Fedrigo?
Thank you, Chair, not to belabor a BC Transit conversation because it'll be indeed with them. So we have to go through this whole process with BC Transit, and we're the ones paying for the service. And then we would be asking for a taxation increase to pay for the service, but we have to wait for BC Transit to tell us that's okay. So in this case, does BC Transit contribute anything to offset this, that we have to go through such a process?
I think it's the province that does, but
Thank
please
you
go ahead.
through the chair. So yes, what's not shown here is the funding provided by the share of cost. It varies between 45 to 55% contribution. Some services also have interior health contributing funds, which is shown in the budget here, not specifically this transit piece, for those that are health connection services. So the BC Transit contribution isn't shown in the budget because they're only billing us for what we're required
Our
to pay.
share is, yes. Follow up, go ahead.
Follow up, I think that's important to note though, so taxpayers understand that there is that offset. So I don't know necessarily worth putting in here, but I do think it's an important note for ratepayers to understand that.
Yeah, by looking at this, it looks like we're paying the whole thing is the point. So, Director Taylor?
Yeah, appreciate transit needs to do the study, but I'm just wondering if there's some metrics or annual report that we get that gives us some information, how many trips per year, et cetera, do we get for our $7,500? Just some basic numbers. If staff are able to provide us with that before we wait a year for BC Transit study, which will rationalize their service. I'm looking for our own numbers that might tell us where to ask questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, that data can be driven through fare takings, definitely. It's not a complete number because, as you know, the under 12s ride for free. What I do get on a monthly basis is UMO data, which is the new ticketing system, the tap and go model, which provides some ridership data. So I can consolidate that. That's only recent data. Otherwise, I will go to BC Transit and ask for the last 5 years of ridership data, knowing that the older data isn't as detailed and clear as the newer data, and that will help inform that. So I can bring that information earlier than waiting on BC Transit, definitely.
Okay, thank you for that. Looks like we're okay there. Let's move on.
Next one's 8600, which is Transit South Okanagan. And this is prior year transfers from reserve as well as deficits. And this bylaw also needs updating. And we go to 8700. This is a new route, Route 50 from Smoking Wreck, and that replaces 8960. It replaces transit for Area G and Area H. Okay, so the next one is 8960. So this is the cemetery area D, and we're at the bylaw limit here as well. So that needs updating.
Director Taylor, question?
Yeah, just flagging, I want this discussed as well next week, just in regards to the increase in salaries and wages.
Okay. 9250 Smilkameen Country Visitor Info Center. I just want to point out that this there was a 2025 bylaw update that changed how the taxation method is. Now the taxation is by assessed value as opposed to a percentage that it was before. So just highlighting that. 9300, which is Economic Development Area A, and this had to do with wage allocation is what jumped it. So again, $563 jumped it from 4 to 5.39%. 9330, Economic Development Area I was wage allocation and prior year transfers from reserve that offset taxation. And again, the operating reserve is quite high in this one, so we could smooth the taxation out by using operating reserves, but talk with the director on the one-on-one meetings for that one. 9360, Economic Development Areas B, G, and H. Again, there's wages and the allocation from previous year was transfer from reserve of $5,000. So that's what is the primary driver.
Could I ask on the wages? I see it's exactly the same for each of those. Is that just an estimate then? We're not.
It's it's an
getting too close on-
allocation of wages from different employees. So it'd be 1% of somebody or 0.5% or however the manager is allocated. 9450, which is, I believe, Area G Electrical System Schneider. So this is the bylaw that in order to bring it in compliance had to be through rural projects. So this has to be updated. And it's primarily due to the power costs. 9500 street lighting Area G, it's utility costs.
Question, Director Roberts.
Thank you, through the chair. Just want you to know that our greatly lit up areas, I think 3 lights.
3 lights.
9660. Street lighting West Bench, the bylaw also needs updating for this one. And 9680, street lighting in Armada, also needs a bylaw update. So that's the run through of the anomalies in the operating budget that I thought the board should be aware of. The only last piece of this presentation, if Adam can bring back my PowerPoint, is just to touch on some of the grants that are in the operating budget that are 100% grant funded. We're bringing it to the board at this stage so that we don't have to bring it in as a separate report. However, any grants that require after budget workshop will be brought to the board for approval before they're put into the budget.
Okay.
Most of those grants require some sort of RDOS contribution, where these ones are 100% grant funded and no impact to taxation.
And how long are you anticipating this might
it's
take?
like 4 slides and then we're done.
Okay, well then we'll
power through for lunch. Is that okay,
tougher
guys?
out. I think we can manage till 12:30.
Okay, we can do it. I'll be quick. If I get control. There we go. So communications department got an intergovernmental relations grant for $50,000. Invasive species has a grant of $12,000 from Oasis. Electoral area administration has an unconditional grant of $160,000, and then community works gas tax of $1.2 million. Emergency planning has carry forward grants of $1.4 million. And that's usually the Fire Smart and EOC grants and things like that. 2026, there's new funds of UBCM EOC training grant of $30,000 and the ESS training grant of $30,000. From 27 to 2030, there's $650,000 per year for Fire Smart, $30,000 for the evacuation planning, $30,000 for EOC tools and training, and $30,000 for ESS training. Grant funding for Cleedon, there's a Fire Smart grant of $4,000 that flows from 0410 emergency planning. And then same thing with Armada, there's Fire Smart of $12,000 that also flows through emergency planning. The fire departments traditionally ask for a CEPF grant. That is, we've been told next year is most likely not going to happen. So those amounts were not in the budget. 3800 sewage disposal Okanagan Falls has an OBWB which is Okanagan Basin Water Board of 80,000. The same with the sewer project in Area A gets $39,000 from that. And then Similkameen Recreation, 7,200, they get a family day grant, a give it a try grant, a participation grant, and a summer jobs grant.
If I could just point out at that last thing there, you showed the grants from the OBWB. Those are the two grants that specifically could be endangered every year if we do better than that or smaller than that 1 hectare policy. That's something to keep in mind. Those are annual grants for a number of years. So. Director Federico?
Thank you, through the chair. The Canada Summer Jobs one's just an anticipation because that application isn't in yet. So that's not a guaranteed one right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Andy would like to speak on that.
Go ahead, Andy.
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, you're absolutely correct. The application's just going in now. It's in anticipation, so it's in the budget as a revenue and as an expenditure. So if it doesn't come through, we don't have a cost associated with it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Recreation OK Falls has the same Celebrate Canada, Give It a Try, Participation, and Canada Summer Jobs grants.
Question, Director Federico?
Yeah, thank you, the chair. So the Heritage Canada Day grants, the same situation because those just went in. So we haven't heard back from those as well.
This is what we were talking about before. 8,600 is Transit South Okanagan. It gets IH funding of 31,000. And then the 8,700, which is the new transit, gets 48,000 of IH funding. And I believe this is the last one.
Oh, question. Go ahead, Director Taylor.
So what criteria do you have to meet for those bus routes to qualify, whereas other routes do not qualify?
Matt's coming. Tag, you're it.
Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, through the chair. So in terms of the IH funding, that is historically attached to those services as they connect populations through to the regional hospitals. So Princeton through to Penticton for the hospital, and then from Vesuvius up to Penticton for the hospital. So I'd have to dig in deeper to look at the history of that. So looks like there may be some more input from one of the directors.
Director Coyne.
Yeah, so these date back to about 2004 for ours. I don't know how long your guys is, but when they gutted the hospital in Princeton, we started Route 50 before it was Route 50, and as a result, we got funding from Interior Health to transport people that needed to go to appointments and everything in Penticton because we had none of those services anymore. So we got the core funding for the expansion off of our local handy dart to move over, I think it was like twice a week back then, to come to Penticton to make appointments. So that's where all that came from, and it's just been an ongoing thing because of the
Former commitments and
yeah,
situations.
and whatnot. So I don't know if they would be something that we could look at getting in the future. I know they go back to really turbulent times.
Yeah. My suspicion is it would be tough now to try to get extra funding from them for any of this. So, but you could ask.
And then 9380 Economic Development Area D gets a Destination BC grant of 15,000.
Okay.
That's it. So thank you for your time. Just want to remind the electoral area directors to please book a meeting with me in the next 2 weeks so we can go through your specific area budgets for any changes that you may want before first reading.
Okay. Not seeing anything, so looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Great. Any opposed? We are adjourned, and lunch is in the opposite room there. So
Perfect.
thank you, everybody. And this morning we were worried that we weren't going to make it all in one day, and they wanted to shorten it and then do a third. Look at that.